And tonight, some real intense Doctor Who debate that will get you behind the sofa as we go live with the Sensefear channel.
Well, hello. I'll be the little gremlin on the Christmas tree at the bottom there while I say hello and Merry Christmas to you all. Good to see you on this Friday night. Do you know what? I was at the Boxing Day football yesterday. You know I'm a Middlesbrough fan. I'm a season ticket holder. And I want to apply this analogy one more time. When your team plays poorly and the team don't blame the fans and the manager doesn't slag off the fans, we go with it. We're all a team. We're a community. I'll be there on Sunday, even though we played badly the other day, because they owned their mistakes and we carry on. It's when I get religion and politics thrown in my face to rile me, if the football players did that I might actually start saying this is not for me. And this is when obviously I apply this to Doctor Who. We normally would be just supporting this passionately as much as I would football. But as soon as the team or the manager starts to criticize me or rile me or say we don't agree with what you are, then suddenly you start to wonder what this is all about, especially when they play badly. So that's the context I'm throwing in. Anyway, never mind holding a suitcase that was half the plot was about and saying the flesh will rise and the star will shine. Elements of this episode had my heart beat on the rise, and the only star that shone for me was Anita Benz, played by Steph Whaley. Great part there. Now, this Christmas episode by Stephen Moffat called Joy to the World. Now, did you find it joyless, joyful, not sure? But it did, to me, it did feel like a filler of an episode with touches of Schitt's Creek, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, to name but a few, actually. You may have seen our stream earlier today with the Aussies and one of our other friends as well. It's a different panel and it's a different team. It's a gut reaction. And we also have a go about the master and the war chief and all the rest of it. So have a take a look at that when you have time. Tonight, though, is very different. We have our scores on the Sarcophagus. And we did it for season 1, and we're very strict on this. You can be as subjective as you want, but I will pin you down to criteria, and the criteria are very clear. We have our ratings watcher tonight, and we've got lots of detail on there to take you through, lots of detail. We have burning issues. We start what it might. Some people who are new to us might go, oh, you started with a negative criticism. We get it out the way first. Before we do a proper review, what were our bones of contention? So you'll get them in any second now, right? Please, if you've just found us, please subscribe. There's a lot of good material out there. If you have subscribed, please repost. Please spread the word. That would be much appreciated. Anyway, this is how we're going to do it tonight, folks. Every one of my panelists has already sent in their marks, so they can't change them. And there you go. There's 4 classifications of an episode. Outstanding, they'll give me 9 or 10 marks for each of the 3 criteria, and we'll work our way down there. You can see there. So you can decide what you're going to imagine we're going to give for Joy to the World. There's criterion 1. Is it true who or boo-hoo? Was it following canon, consistent Doctor, blah, blah, blah. Criterion 2. Effective use of all those production resources or just a waste of budget. And criterion 3, did it engage? Did the resolution satisfy you? You might find that's in one of the burning issues. So there's quite a lot to discuss there. And of course, we've got our contrarian, Simon Anthony. Be kind to him. I have him on, especially because he doesn't agree with me. That's always good. I didn't ever want this to be an echo chamber. We're all respectful. We'll have a bit of fun. And I know we'll be passionate, but we're going to do it tonight. And so it's joy to the world. And so I'm going to be very joyful with all the panel. And of course, there's Muggins here for a second, but I'll get them all on. Now, Queen of the Walk, she's been streaming like a good one. My God, how did you think of Christmas, Rachel?
No idea. No idea. I just reduced my output and did videos on Boxing Day instead.
Well, Merry Christmas and good to see you.
Merry Christmas, good to see you.
Thanks for giving us your time today, because it's, it's still Christmas, really. Anyway, there's a lot to debate. Here's our contrarian. He's there already. There you go, Simon. We will probably argue all night, but it'll be good. It'll be good. Anyway, Merry Christmas, Santa.
Thank you kindly.
And we've got Jeremy. Did you get that book for Christmas, Jeremy?
No. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And I can see K9's in a good mood as well.
Yes, he's got his party hat on, straight from K9 and Company.
And I do have to keep saying you did obviously upgrade that K9, didn't you?
I did a little bit, yes. He's very good. He wants to say a Christmas message, so here we are.
Okay.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
There you go.
Oh, that's very nice of him. Thank you, K9. Go Walkies. No, sorry, yes.
This is the Dutch version of the 1976 annual, by the way. That's why it looks a bit different.
It does look very different, actually, yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah. Very clearly. That's very nice. Very nice. Thank you for that.
No problem.
And of course, another of our original panelists. Hiya, Michelle. Merry Christmas.
Hello, Merry Christmas.
I know we're all fired up for this, aren't we? I'll say, gosh, our burning issues are all burning away.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got Brian here, just across the frontier in Canada. Our David Tennant. We've got David Tennant, Santa Claus. I won't name anybody. We've got K9. So, there you go. Queen of the Walk. And Michelle, what do I call you? I don't know. I'm going to have to come up with a nickname. But there we go. There's our 6. And of course, I'm dying to find out. I know your marks, but nobody else does. And I'm dying to hear what you really, really, really thought of our good old Christmas episode. But as I promised, we start with the burning issues. So here we go. Oh, this is going to be killer. This is really going to be killer, this, when we get this going. So burning issue number 1. A few people will be joining in this one as they're led on it. So the political messaging. So, of course, I know for a fact, Jeremy, you have something to say about this to start us off. On the political messaging, your bone of contention.
Yes, I find the political messaging tedious. I don't know why they keep doing it, to be honest.
What was it in particular? Let's be honest. What was it in particular that's got you going?
Well, I mean, particularly with Partygate, which is old news now, and really, I think it just dates this. It's going to date this episode quite quickly, and again, it's another swipe at a government that's now not in power. So I don't know. I think it's just something that Moffat's got to get off his chest,
I did see Stephen Moffat had said some strong language about certain people partying in Downing Street, but there's a bit of conflation going on as well. I know there were all the allegations about this, that, and the other, but actually, when you looked at each case, 2 or 3 of them were fined for actually having a bit of cake and a bit of wine, but they weren't nightclubbing or anything. Most of the Downing Street cabinet and everybody were doing what they were supposed to be doing. And so basically, it's like when you watch the Oscars and you just think, oh, here we go, we're going to have a bit of a speech. And It's in a way, it's a version of breaking the fourth wall to me because it takes me out of the story.
Yeah, very much so.
So,
My own, yeah.
go on, Mr. Contrarian. What were you saying?
Well, I think any political group, apart obviously from the Greens, if in power, would have done the same sort of things as the Tories did. I think this is a function of just people getting together in a group. So that's the Partygate argument. The political messaging, I think. Well, there's lots of messages which people don't notice that happen all the time. For example, the opening scene of the two old people, the old guy who was a philanderer with at least two women somewhere.
Yeah.
Not a word about that. Completely ignored by everybody because it's utterly usual.
But that was an assumption, though. That was an assumption.
Yeah, I assumed
it was real.
Oh, well, this is a thing that happens, and as I said, the Partygate thing I don't think is a Tory party specific issue.
Yeah.
No, and I said earlier today, I was a teacher when we were not in lockdown at home. When we went into our staff room to teach from a computer to the kids at home, the staff were all in and we had to be a meter apart and all the usual rules. And it was somebody's birthday and somebody brought in a bottle of wine and some cake. And we were all in the same room, but a meter apart with windows open and all the rest of it. Now, in some cases, that's what happened in Downing Street too. And I just start to think, all right, Stephen Moffat and RTD, I know your politics and I know what you hate, but why have you brought this and why have you sabotaged or ambushed a Doctor Who plot to make this point? And to be quite frank, if the Tories weren't in government when it was locked down, the Labour Party would have been even stricter. So I don't know what the big argument is. Michelle, you were across the pond, political messaging.
Oh yeah. We have the same thing in the United States where rules for thee but not for me. I mean, they're mainly on the Democratic Party side. They were, especially in California. You know, Nancy Pelosi gets her hair done on the closed down salon. You know, the governor of California gets to have his parties. Hollywood's able to have their film sets going on, but the average person will, I'm getting yelled at in Walmart for walking down the wrong way. So I deliberately walk down the wrong way everywhere I went, just because I'm Criterion enough.
Yeah, I mean, Rachel, I do know that there's some serious points to make about this politics in a moment, about what we were showing in the plot about, people being separated from their relatives, and it was hard. And it can't be dealt with flippantly by Stephen Moffat at all. It was a horrible time. But what did you think about the political messaging going on in the story?
Well, I didn't sort of overreact to it. I mean, it's there, it's done, it's too late in that regards. It will mostly just date it, I think, really, more than anything. And that's it.
But
that's the only opinion I really have on it, I'm afraid.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, why was this event that happened in 2020 had to be brought up back again? Because it was an unpleasant time for many people for many different reasons.
Yeah.
And yet we have a writer who says, oh, I know, I'll just mention this event, etc., that we had in 2020. I just think, and particularly at Christmas time, I mean, really.
The reason Joy was
I also mentioned
the reason Joy could be made angry to break her out of the control was by deliberately poking that issue. I mean, it's a plot device, but he uses every plot device multiple times in the show. It was reasonable.
Yeah, I'll bring in Brian, fair dues. Hello, Brian, in Canada there. So have you got any skin in the game on this political messaging point?
If you can hear me.
Yes.
Yep. Loud and clear.
Yeah.
I'm in the studio now. I'll tell you this. I was pleased that it was toned down a little compared to all the other episodes. Now, keep that in mind. All the other episodes, I thought this one was toned down quite a bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you're going to be talking about the whole COVID situation, I thought, some people are saying, was it in bad taste to do that? it could bring back a lot of bad memories for people. Why would you use something like this in a story? So while it didn't anger me at the time when I saw it, I just thought, I don't know, this is such a good idea, guys. So I just had to kind of go with it and just, there's not much else for me to say other than I was right on I was teetering on, this is kind of in bad taste. You shouldn't be using this for the show, to let's see where they take it. Unfortunately, where they did take it, I think we'll get to that later, I'm sure.
We certainly will. I mean,
I didn't like it.
This is burning issue number one. Jeremy brought it up particularly, but I was in agreement with him. I mean, you've got the two women mentioned in the Blitz. I don't know if they're supposed to be together, or as you say, Sam, and he was just a philanderer with two women. I don't know. You've got the Rainbow Club there next to the Sandringham Hotel. That's allowed. That's normal life. But it's just interesting what they choose to show you and what they don't. And of course, we have a lesbian love story on the Orient Express. Via letter, we have the LGBTQ nightclub, we have the euthanizing of a mother.
It wasn't.
Well, I'll just say it first, obviously. So we've got that's an unsettled issue in Britain. I know in Canada law has been changed regarding that, but it's not a settled issue, and this is supposed to be a Christmas. 5:10 family drama. And to me, I understand completely, Jeremy, where you were coming from on lots of different scores, I'll be honest with you. And you can see there with GB News, BBC Doctor Who fans fume over woke Christmas Day episode as Partygate referenced. So political. You've got half the audience furious that this was raised at all. The other half might be applauding.
Terrible. It shouldn't have been. This sort of thing shouldn't have been mentioned in the Christmas show, but I think it should have been mentioned somewhere.
Yeah, but in a play or political satire or something. Or why doesn't RTD or Stephen Moffat just become politicians?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, run as a candidate for the Labour Party.
Now, I'm sorry, the way I've set it up, I know the writing's over everybody at the moment. I don't mean it to be like that. I'll sort it out. Stephen Braddock, why was it in the special at all? I lost my wife to COVID, and I'm sorry to hear that, Stephen, in hospital on 2020, and I didn't want to be reminded of it on Christmas Day. That's a very sad point, and it's not the only one, also sad to say, isn't it, Stephen? But the issue is, they have them warnings with old 70s programs now, trigger warnings, and yet everybody who has had a heartache like Stephen has, there was no banner saying we're going to go there and we're going to mention COVID in a flippant way. Do you know what is it about these modern showrunners who think they've got it all so right? I'm so sorry to hear Stephen Braddock say that, because it must be awful. You've sat there, you've got through the day, it's upsetting to not be with your loved one, and then here we go, Stephen Moffat wants to score an easy goal.
I didn't notice this on first viewing. I contracted long COVID in March 2020, and I definitely still got it, my word, yes. So I could well fall asleep at any moment. But on reviewing and listening to people's concerns, I fully understand that. But it was a valid thing to do. I think he misjudged it.
Yeah.
Bad timing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Just almost a bit of devil's advocate here. So the last series was incredibly light, wasn't it? In many respects. So in it almost like he had no choice in many respects to take the lightness away from it, because you can only go lighter if you're going for Christmas, and we certainly would have got that with RTD if RTD had done the Christmas special. So maybe he also felt like he had no choice but to go darker, whether this was the right thing or not. Bad timing, but yeah.
It's like reading the room, isn't it? Read the room, Stephen Moffat. As I've got the famous quote up here. If you want to avoid heated arguments, never discuss religion, politics, or whether the toilet paper's roll should go over or under. The point is, why on Christmas Day tea time, we all know this with certain relatives. Don't mention politics. Don't mention this. Don't mention that. Stephen Moffat and RTD, they'll land it for our tea time on Christmas Day. They don't give us stuff. And I just think that landed badly, and it was unnecessary. The lines didn't change the plot.
No, like, I mean, I don't mind it being darker for Christmas Day. Was this the right topic? Probably not.
So we will get into the plot and the criteria and all the marks. I tell you what, I'm going to bait you all on the marks because the classification is going to be interesting. We've got a hell of a range of a panel. But the next burning issue for now is the religious resolution to the episode. Now, Michelle, I might as well tee you up.
I am a Christian. I'm going to preface this with that. I don't expect everybody to share my beliefs. That's okay. I don't expect the TV shows I watch to share my beliefs. That's okay. But I do not like having religion, and particularly one of the main reasons for the day, to be satirized or mocked on the religious holiday. I mean, I am really confused. Is he mocking religion or is he supporting religion? Why is Villengard needing to create a Star of Bethlehem? Is Villengard creating religion so there'll be a reason for a war? What does it say about religion? What does it say particularly about Christianity?
Good question.
You know, and then anybody who has complaints about this online is being told, shut up, save your breath, you're just an intolerant Christian. Religious people are always looking to be offended. I go into this not looking for religion. It didn't have to be there. She could have been the North Star. She could have been the Star of Hope. Anything. There's a freaking Christmas and there's the plot line of Princess of the Frog. A freaking lightning bug becomes a star. It's not the Star of Bethlehem.
But it can't be because it showed up in all the other time frames as well. It wasn't.
And the Star of Bethlehem also did not show up in other times in other timelines. We're still debating what the Star of Bethlehem is because it only showed up once. Yeah, if you're going to follow the
and it is I know because I was brought up Christian as well, a Roman Catholic. I'll just declare. But the Star of Bethlehem is only in one of the scriptures. It's an interesting one, but it's
only one, and we're not sure how long it lasted. We can also talk about the three kings showed up wrong. They likely came a year after Jesus was born.
But the overall point is, maybe in our liberal kind of country, the showrunners think it's easier to have a stab at certain religions, maybe not all of them. But
not Islam.
Yeah.
No. Oh, I can't wait for the can I say this, the Ramadan special? Wait a minute,
it's almost cowardly to pick on some religions but not others. I don't think you should pick on any religion. I think, free speech, yes, I understand, but also respect. So X-Man here says Nicola Coughlan was done wrong, hated the ending. Well, I assume it's because of this star element, X-Man, which we're talking about now. So I wanted to bring you in there because, Brian, how did you feel about the ending? Whether you're Christian or not, or church-going or not, how did you feel about the resolution, the Star of Bethlehem, her becoming a star?
I thought it was just Moffat trying to be clever again. It's like you said, if you've got we've seen this before in Doctor Who, when you have a character, you think their life is in danger. Perfect example, Love and Monsters. The girl's put inside a cement slab.
Yeah.
So yay, she doesn't have to die. And they've done the same thing here, except instead of being a concrete slab, it's the Star of Bethlehem. I'm also, former Roman Catholic, now atheist. And I still thought, you shouldn't be doing this. I didn't find it particularly offensive. I mean, if I was a Christian, I don't think I would find it offensive. I could see how they're trying to make a nice Christmas. It is a Christmas special after all, so why not try to bring? Yeah, I thought. Mm-hmm. I think maybe that they thought, wouldn't this be clever and nice if we could somehow weave this into an actual historical or that's up for debate as
Yeah,
well.
and
But for for religion as well, like try to combine the two, and I was just like, I didn't think it was a good idea at all. I
I
can
mean,
see why they thought so.
Rachel, I mentioned in my stream earlier, I have to be consistent with any of my criticisms. So, for example, when Peter Davison's The Visitation at the end, the pteroleptals had caused a fire, which ended up being the Great Fire of London 1666. As a fan, I thought I liked that. I didn't mind history being tweaked there. So why should I? Isn't this in the same ballpark doing this, or am I just being deliberate?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. You have to come back to me on that one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, it's just artistic. The program has always done a kind of artistic license. It's just, I think, dabbling with religion. Put it this way: it's Christmas Day. It's Christmas Day to some people. We wouldn't be having a holiday at all, whether you believe or not, if it wasn't a pseudo-Christian country.
Yes, we would.
Right, okay. Right, so I was brought up Christian.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know Moffat has his tropes about religion and how he puts them in. However, I'm going to say this. I didn't find it mocking. I didn't find it mocking. I really didn't. I wasn't insulted by it. I find it worse when he did what he did in Boom, attacks their religious beliefs, but then doesn't offer the characters chance to actually have a pushback. The way he did it here was a lot more subtle.
Yeah.
That's what I found. So I didn't find it to be as mocking as what he did in Boom. I don't mind religious. I don't mind religious imagery at all.
Now, can
Rachel?
I just say
Just
one
a quick,
thing?
or 10, I had a quick question. I actually didn't see Boom because, as you know, I gave up after.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I gave up
Boom
after
either.
the second episode. So
Yeah.
if you could explain that,
Yeah,
I'd like to hear it.
So the soldiers were, religious, and they have a religion. I can't really remember the full details of it because I've only ever watched it once, and I'll never watch it again. And the doctor has stood on a bomb, and it's going to go boom, and he's losing his patience, and he has this like scene where he just constantly attacks their religion, and they just went and just bleated, and they didn't say anything. They didn't protect their beliefs. They didn't fight back or anything like that.
Yes,
So
they did. Later on.
Now,
Later on.
just so I don't
not immediately. So yeah, I had issues
Yeah.
with that.
Just so I don't get kind of waylaid, there's a lot to cover tonight, I know. Caslan Spandex, good to see you. How is it offensive? Now, Michelle was teed this burning issue up, and she's a Christian. I suppose my question is to you, Caslan Spandex, is on a Doctor Who family drama on Christmas Day, I think that the clue's in the title, it would be more sensitive. We've been told to be kind in 2024 quite a lot and respectful. And I would have thought that includes, even if you're not religious, in a country which celebrates Christmas Day, that maybe having digs at Christianity is not necessarily apt. And I may not have found it offensive. I haven't found it offensive, but I did think, why is he doing that? Having a dig at people when it's not open season for every religion. So I think it's always best just to leave alone. Have a general point about religion and people who are blind with their faith. Maybe have a general point, but never go digging for Anglicans as he did in Boom, etc. Go on, Michelle, because you started.
Can I answer this question? Okay, how is it offensive? It is offensive because in the Christian religion, the star is mentioned to be a heralding of the birth of Jesus Christ. Christians consider him to be the Messiah. This star was used to herald his birth and also to bring the Magi to come and verify that the Son of God had been born. So they are putting it into a religious context and saying, oh no, it's not, a divine miracle. It's because an evil corporation needs to fund war. and has created now the backbone of the Christian religion to fund these wars that will kill people just so some people off planet become wealthy.
Do
Now,
you think Moffat knew, though? Do you think Moffat knew?
Of course he knows.
The thing is, he shouldn't wait. Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not very. I'm not an expert on the Quran, so I wouldn't wade into it with half a soundbite. Now, Simon, you wanted to say something. We've got a few other burning issues, so we've got plenty to
This
do.
one's a quick one. I think he was making a point about the hypocrisy of religions that are based on love and understanding, and I think it was a well-placed jab. It could be placed on any religion entirely at the moment, especially now. By the way, Christians stole Yuletide, or indeed Yalda, from everybody because of the position of the sun and the length of the day.
Well, remember that. But remember that
Now, the reason Christmas is one of the many reasons Christmas is celebrated the way it is because the guy who did the dating issues that we get wrong with the years is there was a belief in the early Christian church that a person died on the anniversary of their 9 months away from their conception. So at the time they believed that Jesus died on March 25th. So 9 months later would be December 25th. Yes, there were Yuletide celebrations. So part of that is taking what was already there and developing it into the Christian religion, but it's also part of the belief and the ideology of the time period. So to say 100% that Christians stole Saturnalia or Yuletide is incorrect.
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay, and we'll keep moving because obviously this is a Doctor Who review as well. We're bringing out the points. These are bones of contention. The other thing I brought in with a religious ethical resolution was turning her into a star, which was, I thought, a cop out like Astrid Peth. It's been done before in Voyage of the Damned with Kylie Minogue. The other issue is the euthanizing of the mother, because once she turned into a star, she seemed to steal her mum from the bed. And she was still alive. I mean, I've seen the picture. She was still alive. So I was very confused as to why that's a great move or not. However, we're going to be discussing that through the show. Now, the next burning issue, the next cab on the rank, is the Doctor did not solve anything. How many episodes do we see where the Doctor doesn't solve it? He just seems to be a journeyman. He just seems to be there.
Well, he saved Joy's life, didn't he?
That's
a really big thing. Yes, he did. By 742 or whatever the number was, which he worked out.
Well, he saved her to become a star. And to be honest,
yes, that refutes your statement that he didn't do anything. My
message to somebody who's lonely is phone the Samaritans or phone a friend or talk to somebody. It's not become a star, because the only way you can become a star in real life is something very sad to do to yourself. If you're lonely, reach out. If you're lonely, try and talk it out with somebody. The Samaritans is what we would normally say at Christmas. But the star thing is hocus pocus, because that's nobody can choose to be a star if they feel lonely. So, I just think why anyway. So there's the star nonsense. So she wasn't saved because in the end she was left alone, a bit like in Rogue. Ruby was left on her own and could have been killed by a Childer. The Doctor had nothing to do with it. By the time he found Joy, she was a star. Too late. Useless. Trev died. The Silurian manager died. The man with the suitcase died. What was the point of the Doctor apart from he's good with plumbing in some rundown hotel? Rachel, did you want to employ him?
Well, if he's good with plumbing, yeah, I'd employ him. But the only thing that I actually think he truly did solve, right, was the mystery of the starseed, the case, okay? But we didn't see to see how he did it.
Yes.
Because that whole year was set to solving that. Very Capaldi style. We see everything up in the room and he's drawing pictures, but no real sort of like working it out. But
he said before going off into the years spot, if I had the time, I could work this out. And then he had a year in which he could
Yeah.
work it out.
Which
Although
I
he
would
did
like to have
later
seen.
say the number came from the cyclic vision of that, which I think was rather important.
You'll want to excuse that.
So, Michelle,
Was it?
Michelle, your thoughts on the doctor who doesn't solve anything?
It's so disappointing. I mean, I don't expect the doctor to always win because that's going to be boring.
I agree.
But once again, things happen to him. He doesn't advance the plot. He arrives at the hotel and finds a mystery. Okay, that's very typical Doctor Who. Okay, so that's typical. But then he gets trapped in the hotel for a year, and that was interesting. But you don't see him solving the code. You don't see him figuring out. We see it. And then he gets back into the correct timeline. And he doesn't he's being told everything. He's being told the answers through his sonic screwdriver. Trevor and the manager are giving him, what room they're in. And then when he is trying to make a resolution to open up the vault or the altar, he is helping a lovelorn woman while his companion's getting killed.
Yeah. And Stephen Braddock makes two good points here, and I'll bring them both up. If the doctor hadn't told Joel Trevor he was on a secret mission, he wouldn't have died. Yeah. And that was so patronizing. I said it earlier in my stream, in the early one. You can't fat shame, as the War Games in Colour, they edited that. You can't fat shame. When Patrick Troughton's doctor said, oh, too thin, you can say too thin, but you can't say too fat. But when it comes to poor Trev, was a little bit dim, apparently. And the doctor had that lovely line when he said, while he wants to do an investigation, he needs to clear his mind. Trev, you won't have that as a problem. Wow. Sorry. As a teacher of 30 years, whether that's a joke or not, that's a dig you cannot do. But so, of course, my understanding from the progressive showrunners and writers nowadays is you can't fat shame. Okay, well, yeah, I agree. But you can shame and patronize people who might not be very bright. That's allowed.
Can I chime in for a second here?
Go on then.
Oh, great. As you all may know, pretty skinny guy here. Okay. And I would have to say, until David Tennant came along, I did not get the same treatment that after people saw him on TV, and then they met me and they were like, hey, you look just like the doctor. Before that, I had received quite a few negative comments about my weight, saying, oh, look at that, he's too skinny. Oh, he's this skinny. He's just a skinny. Yeah. They shouldn't have used that either. I realized that he put that in there just so they could show. That's the problem with Russell T Davies and with Stephen Moffat. They want to be clever, so they put that in there so they could show David Tennant. He's too thin and he's too old. Let's put Capaldi in there. But they shouldn't be using. If they're going to cut out one, like you said, he's too fat, he's too thin, shouldn't even be in there either.
Yeah, I agree. The Star Beast episode from last year, as you know, it had a moment when it said you can't dead name people, but you can say somebody's very thin. Mm-hmm. Again, it makes no sense to me. You're either progressive or you're not. And these lot are inconsistent and illogical and half the time in what they do. And they rile me up. Just avoid it and write a blooming good adventure. And we'll see whether you're clever or not. So yes, on the Doctor doesn't solve anything. I mean, Farsight said a while ago, and I flashed it up, in Caves of Androzani, he solves nothing. But that was his regeneration story. I mean, it was a plight, wasn't it? And in the end, well, he did solve Perry's toxemia. He actually, he solved.
And died because of it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I worked on that show, by the way.
Oh, well, you see, he drops these little, boom. So
practically a perfect
well
story.
done. That was one of the best stories around, wasn't it?
It was marvelous. Yes.
Burning issue 4, Rachel, The Impossible Girl again.
Oh yeah, please. I called it though, didn't I? I actually did call it on this channel that it was probably going to be something like this: the Impossible Girl storyline again. And how many characters have now turned into a star? I mean, oh, come on. Oh, it's like they found something that works and they keep regurgitating it and reusing it. And whilst I don't mind the Impossible Girl storyline, I'm just bored of it and I'd like it to be done differently. That's all.
I also, when we're talking about how Joy was introduced and executed through the episode, I just thought, what? I'm sorry, when I get a hotel room and there's a fly in it, I'm not going to start talking to it as if
That
I'm.
was a weird info dump. I mean, like, Moffat, you're a better writer than that. You could have done that at the check-in. Name, please. I'm Joy. And, oh, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I'd have asked for fly spray or complained. I mean, I'm not to
No,
complain.
it was just a really weird info dump. I mean, I'm like, who is she talking to? I mean, because you could have her checking in. It's like name, Joy, whatever, and oh, Merry Christmas. I'm single occupants. They're trying to find a way to introduce her name, and they could have done it so much more of a natural way.
The true Impossible Girl storyline is the Donna Noble storyline. That's the best one out of all of them. Until they ruined it. But
hasn't it been said that companions
She's
are
right.
being selected by some exterior force, that it is not random that he gets these particular people as companions?
I'm just done with it.
Yeah, I think we're all bored with it, aren't we? I think
No.
to me, I think the writers and the showrunners now are showing that they're not really doing science fiction concepts. I'll say, yes, you did the Time Hotel, but you didn't actually make that the dominant part of it. It's got to be.
The concept to the Time Hotel is brilliant.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
Yeah, actually, they really dropped the ball on that. It was a great idea, and they did almost literally nothing with it. You're right.
Exactly.
It was wasted.
Now, Sir X-Man, I have had no issue with Nicola
Nicola
Coughlan.
Coughlan.
Yeah, at all. I have seen some streams have gone a bit nasty, I have to say, and
Yeah.
I'm not into that at all. I disapprove of it. There's nothing wrong with her. She's a talented actress. Derry
Right.
Girls and other stuff I haven't seen her in. I think, how many times, Rachel, have I said, talking to you as an actor, and I've said, what a shame they got her in it,
Yeah.
but they didn't write her, because she was possessed for most of the time.
Yeah.
She wasn't.
Mm.
And then she was given very silly lines as if she was 5, like a 5-year-old girl, Oh, there's a fly. Hello, fly. It's like, what the hell?
Literally, her defining moment in that episode, in that story, was the bit when they were talking about the Coof and how her mum passed away.
Yes.
That was really well performed. Other than that, they didn't give her much depth. And it's
Yeah,
really
that was
sad because
the thing.
Nicola is so much better than the material that she got. I mean, that I don't mind the possession stuff. Actually, she played it really well. She did a really good job with what she was given. I just would have liked to have seen more depth to the character prior to the possession. But you've only got how long was it? 55 minutes?
Yeah, 54 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes that affects it as well. And maybe there was stuff in there that had to be cut. So
Now, JWC Reviews obviously mentions Anita, and we'll come to Anita. I
right.
mentioned her in the preface, actually, when I
like that
started.
character.
Has absolutely fantastic character, well written. We'll keep going. We're still on the blooming burning issues here. So there we go. She will shine everywhere and forever. I can buy the point that she became a star because actually it is a sad truth that when people sometimes lose a family relative, some buy stars, some point at a star. I get there is an attachment sometimes, and it's a way of explaining things. So I don't want to be too harsh. However, the way it was done as a plot device was a pretty chronic.
Can I just point out the Bethlehem Star went out, and this one was visible in all the time slots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, this is.
I mean, she could have been the North Star. The North Star is seen everywhere. That's perfectly fine.
Now,
Yes, happy with that. Yeah.
the next burning issue is yours, Simon, the Contrarian. You may have seen him on my Facebook page earlier today. Now, Simon, I suppose you want to make a point I've put a few things up here. I've got JWC Reviews, who's actually in the thread. So hello, JWC Reviews. You said, just finished watching Joy to the World. It was crap. A bland, feel-good piece of drama with little perceived threat and a weak storyline. As we go through that JWC Reviews, we'll discuss actually the plot line and everything. But there's your viewpoint there. Ben Williams on the other side equally wasn't too impressed with the episode. And there's your quote in the middle, Simon. Doctor Who, Joy to the World. I hoped it would be good. It was great. But your point, your burning issue you wanted to raise was the negativity from fans. But you're not saying people can't be negative. What's your point?
My point is, they tend to spot the bits that they can be argumentative about, rather than benefit the bits that are quality, the fun parts. The fact that there was nose to tail, really clever jokes throughout large sections of the show, and just the occasional thing that's mentioned gets blown up out of all proportion. It's there, it's a justified complaint, but compared to the weight of all the other stuff, all the fun things that could have been picked up, the clever comments, the ones that weren't in any way controversial, those could have been bolstering. And I fear that the show is being pulled down by comments that are mostly negative. And so people like your father, as you said, walked out.
Yeah.
If he knew that the show, or if he believed that the show was actually inherently good, he would have stayed there until it got to the next stage. But
I think
he didn't, because he was programmed to think it was all going to be bad.
Well, the thing is, Simon, we keep getting told by RTD, he uses the phrase modern audiences. Modern audiences, you have to be faster, slicker, pacier and everything. Stuff I don't like. I mean, I like episodic Doctor Who, as you know.
Yes, I know.
But he seems to think, no, it needs to be just faster, faster, faster. So if he thinks he's the expert on modern audiences, and who am I to challenge him one way because I don't make TV programs, he does. But the point is, modern audiences, well, actually, modern audiences might be age 78 and walking out the room because they're bored rigid with your program. Because after 11 minutes, the story had not started. And I've timed it. I've actually timed it on my script here. 11 minutes, 14 seconds.
Sequence at all. The two old people had played no part in the plot or the framing of anything. They could have got rid of that and improved both of the female characters' storylines, I think. It's just,
and we've got the ratings, and I'll show you in a moment the 5-minute breakdowns. But Bullseye was on the other side, 15 minutes into Doctor Who, and we lost 500,000 views. And that's just a fact of what happened. And my dad was one of those. He didn't go and watch Bullseye. He was just so bored he left the room. My mum voted with her feet this year. Last year, she said that the Church on Ruby Road was okay, believe it or not, and she hates Doctor Who. This year, she didn't even stay in the same room at the start. So she was voting with her feet anyway. So we take your point, and I just approved that, we've got Radio Times give it 4 stars out of 5. I've got here 4 stars out of 5 by Total Film. Ncuti Gatwa is as magnetic as ever in this delightful festive treat. So I will be balanced. Financial Times, Doctor Who Christmas Special Review. Ncuti Gatwa and Nicola pair up for a zippy and tearful treat. And also Doctor Who's Christmas Special feels a tad uneven and all too familiar. There's a lot of different ones here, and you can see I'm trying to be fair. Some think it's a bit tatty, some think it's great. But we've all got our points to make, and as Doctor Who fans, we tend to go over the kind of the tea leaves a bit, I understand. Right, okay. This is me, partly. It felt like a filler episode. Now, please understand, filler episode means I don't think it had anything significant or consequential in it.
There's the growth of the Doctor. He learned a lot about himself.
Again.
Yes.
He learned a lot because Ruby Sunday left his TARDIS, and she taught him so much that year when he wasn't around, but she dealt with things herself. And he said in the end, how can I do without you? You know, the Doctor has become very troubled. In fact, the Doctor doesn't solve things. The Doctor seems to need 19-year-old women to teach him something.
Because
And
he's only half the man he was. He
well,
said, "My soul has been split in two," and we know where the other half is. And the other half is, well, we don't know how the Tennant bit is performing, but I suspect they're going to be reamalgamated in some way. At least I hope so. As I said.
the trouble is, I know that's your theory, but my dad walking out of the room halfway through doesn't help the scenario regarding you're trying to win viewers to sit down. It's good drama. Can you imagine, Rachel, if you were making a play and after 10 minutes everybody walked out? It's just not good drama, then, is it? It's
I'd be
failing.
mortified. I'd be so embarrassed. I really would.
Particularly if it's live theatre.
Immediately after the first season, and there was no way of changing it. Had there been a gap in which anybody could have reacted to the very poor showing, it may have been different. But as it was impossible, it just had to make do with what it was. And I suspect they got very frustrated.
Yeah.
And indeed probably quite angry about it, because all the effort they put into making the show work.
And they've already finished the second series,
Yes.
haven't they? So it's like, oh gosh, if they are able to get back in and do some reshooting based on things that have been said, that would be great. But
It's too late.
Who knows?
Yep.
I don't think he would do it even if they did have the chance.
It's just more money, isn't it?
And
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
You had a
Pragmatism.
You had a 54-minute episode, and for the first 11 minutes, it was schmaltzy music and kind of nudge, nudge, wink, wink, and there's a man holding a suitcase, but nothing exciting happening. And you also had a repeat of the trailer as your pre-credit sequence. There was nothing happening. For 20% of the program, nothing happened. Facts. Then you get this 10 to 15-minute sequence where he's plumbing and caretaking.
You've gone very muffled.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
There we go.
Not got Tom Baker's scarf on.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, if I don't think modern audiences want dips like that. So I just that's what I'm going to question. And our last one, everybody, before we rock and roll into the ratings, for example, The Domestic Doctor.
Oh yeah.
Now, one point, and I think you, Rachel, mentioned plot holes.
Yeah.
Well, one plot hole is that, you didn't have to wait a year to sort out the code. You just had to go around the corner and get David Tennant.
He couldn't, and he said why, because it would muck up the time vortex. He said that was the statement.
Well, I know there's the Brendan Blinovich effect, and apparently if you press the second button on my sonic screwdriver, it's solved, apparently. You know how they get out of these things. Yeah, a load of baloney. So does anyone else have any skin in the game on The Domestic Doctor? We've had him in so many episodes now where he just seems to like hanging around playing football.
It's always a different doctor.
Babysitting.
We never see the same doctor hanging about in a domestic situation.
Simon, I'll say the word New Who. New Who doctors like babysitting, caretaking, playing football, sitting, having a cup of tea in a garden. Yet the classic third Doctor was absolutely pulling his hair out to get off Earth.
Okay,
Yes.
so
And it was really dull with Pertwee on Earth all the time. I was really frustrated back then.
Okay, so I was, The Domestic Doctor. That's interesting, isn't it? A very interesting one. I wondered if, because one of the themes of this particular episode is loneliness at Christmas as well.
Yeah.
I wondered if he did it like this to highlight that the Doctor is a lonely man. Just throwing that out there. That's what I thought. Order the Domestic Doctor. He's alone. He has to wait for a year, and then he finds a friend in Anita.
I mean, I did understand, Jeremy, that if there's a message about Christmas and, like Rachel said, loneliness of people at Christmas, I understand from you're making a point about people who were separated during COVID and they were lonely and it hurt people, especially with Alzheimer's. It really destroyed them. You've got people who are lonely at Christmas, and Christmas is an awful time for those people. And so you can show Anita and show various people and joy and all the rest of it. It's just it sounds like a soap opera, though. It doesn't sound like we've got a soap a space adventure.
It's horribly real, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm on my own at Christmas, but it doesn't bother me in the slightest. So there are people who actually do want to be on their own, and they don't have a problem with it.
I have no issue with it.
I don't have an issue with it.
I mean, I don't mind how it's done. Like in the terms of it's the messaging in this story was much more seamless than it has been in the since the last series. So,
I mean, the BBC
it was
did an article saying there's 1.4 million people who are going to spend Christmas on their own. And it's like, yeah, but maybe they want to be on their own, and they can go out and find somebody or go to some place, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So it's not a major problem. But I did feel that big segment was very sort of soap opera-y, and it was actually boring. And I was looking at my phone when it was on, where Gatwa was stuck on Earth. And
I think it was a shame, because I do think Anita, and I will mention Anita at various points tonight, but Anita and Steph de Whaley had a lovely part, and it was a lovely sequence if it was in a soap opera or in a drama. But because I was waiting for some science fiction adventure to happen, it bored me rigid, and I thought, what a blooming mishit.
Do you know, though, I did say this in my review, what I actually felt, though, with those two doing that little sequence, as boring as it was, you could actually sense their on-screen chemistry more than you could with what he had with Millie Gibson.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
But also I thought, is this going to be a relationship?
I felt like they were implying something there.
And I thought, how can this be a relationship? You can't do it, Moffat, because already they've established that the character is now gay.
Yeah.
But
unless he's turning bisexual.
He said, I do not have a boyfriend.
You got the lines, life in chronological order, a whole year of you, how lucky I was to know you. There were a few little messages about living in the moment. He said that about when he had the suitcase and he got it sorted out with a second or so to go. He said, just focus in the moment. I get that, but it was just, was there a plot? Was there anything of interest apart from that? Few things, few people in the thread. A good girl, interesting names. This storytelling with the Anita plotline was good in itself, but it's not something I want to take up the majority of a Christmas special. Agreed.
It felt like I was watching two different plot lines, like two different episodes merged together. Because the first time I was watching it, I was confused. Senseless is like, what the heck is going on? I thought this was supposed to be about Joy, and this was a misuse of a fantastic actress. Because you wonder how many people were watching this because she's on Dairy Girls and the Bridgerton people. This is not the exposure to Doctor Who that I think is going to bring in new viewers.
But I will say one thing, and me and Rachel definitely did say this in our Boom review, and it was, maybe Stephen Moffat has discovered that you get Ncuti Gatwa and you stand him still. Or in the case of this episode, you sit him down on a gantry with somebody and you just have him doing plumbing and you get more out of that actor.
He was a lot better in this episode.
Oh, I love the plunger gag. It's just
my favorite thing.
And just his bug eyes and just great comic look on his face. And the microwave about why is it bigger on the inside? He goes, it shouldn't be, and he goes, he has to go back and fix it.
And I love Mr. Ben
inside as well. Yes.
Did you see the Dodo Burgers shop?
The Dodo Burgers, Mr. Ben. I mean,
why is my car blue? That was funny. Why is my car blue now?
It's Anita Ben, I think it was named after. I don't think it was Mr. Ben.
Well, Mr. Ben, it had his night of one of his costumes in the window.
It was the shop. It was the shopkeeper, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what the shopkeeper's name was.
Yes, and then the shopkeeper appeared. We all know it pretty well. So there you go. That's our burning issues.
Why is he wearing his clothes underneath It's
a homage to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes, of course.
Well, yes. If it was, he would have said it was room 42 rather than room 48. But that's little point.
Mind you, they missed a trick there. They could have just had him in his underpants with the dressing gown on top.
Let's be glad there's clothing,
Yeah, well, that's true. Now, Point of order for a second. We might as well, since we've been talking about this, mention a bit of the ratings, and we'll go right into Criteria 1 when we'll give some of the results away of our panel. But here we go. Yes, it's the Ratings Watcher. Here we go. Yes, the good old Ratings Watcher's back. And yep, I'll tell you the stuff that every stream has mentioned. I know the bits that everybody's already shown you, but there's other bits that are a little bit more tasty. So yes, it got 4.11 overnight. We're told overnight's not important, so we'll keep an eye on how that pans out. But of course, it's very interesting to see how it sits within the day. Sixth there. It won't stay sixth, of course. It might grow a little bit. However, what I wanted to point out and bring everybody in on discussion is there's the Christmas or New Year's specials since 2016, and you can see there is a trend downwards. So whether that proves something about terrestrial TV, but I've got a few pointers to make in a moment on that. There's the day on BBC One. And my argument could be that BBC One's Doctor Who output adds nothing to the kind of they don't grab extra viewers, and they also don't lose viewers. It's kind of flatlining with EastEnders, Doctor Who, Strictly Come Dancing, and Call the Midwife. Where the two standouts, as we know, are Wallace and Gromit and Gavin and Stacey. And if I then show you the 5-minute breakdown, because the 5-minute breakdown, I think there's no escape from it. So Strictly finished with 4.6 million. And then straight away, knowing that Doctor Who's on, we lose 200,000 straight away. However, you see that those first 10 to 11 minutes are crucial because we go from 4.44 million to 3.89 million. We lose 500,000 people to Bullseye or somewhere else. And if you go back, as I did, nothing happens. People want to know whether it's going to be a great Doctor Who episode full of jeopardy. There's going to be a monster that'll get the kids going. And it's just smirking and Trev, you know, do you want to be on this secret mission? My name's Clint Rock. And it doesn't work. Doctor Who in the final 10 minutes adds 1 million viewers. But the killer is between 10 past 6 and 20 past 6. You know, terrestrial TV's dead. Wallace and Gromit adds 4.36 million. And so how can anybody make any argument at all that Doctor Who's ratings are because terrestrial TV's dying? Explain to me why Wallace and Gromit in 10 minutes doubled the audience.
Because Wallace and Gromit would have been highly anticipated because it was a new film, and they have just recently in the last few years, replaced the voice actor because the original voice actor died. So they've only just brought it back.
Yes.
Yeah. It was Peter Sallis, original voice actor. It's someone else now. And so it was highly anticipated, just like Gavin and Stacey was.
But Doctor Who, I get your point. I totally, because I was trying to work this out. Doctor Who is a 61-year-old program, which isn't 61 years old as in tired, because every few years you energize it with a brand new actor. And so unlike Coronation Street and EastEnders that are dying a death over the years, because their figures are getting terrible, Doctor Who can re-energize every few years. Or if you actually want to energize it faster, you sack Colin Baker. The BBC know what to do. So the Doctor Who has no excuse. Bad Wolf has no excuse. These figures are showing that RTD coming back with his specials and his 60th and all the rest of it. He hasn't energized Doctor Who. It's flatlining.
You've seen the point that Wallace and Gromit and GNS, whatever, were very, very heavily pushed on the TV and on the radio, whereas Doctor Who hardly was at all.
Doctor Who's not being mentioned by reviewers. They'd watched it, but they didn't want to review it. I don't know how many shows I saw where they mentioned Wallace and Gromit, they mentioned Strictly, they mentioned other stuff, but they didn't mention Doctor Who. It's not in the national consciousness. It was a bland episode. Jeremy?
And I think the reason it isn't mentioned is because of the general zeitgeist that the show is dead, because of so many review shows saying it is.
No.
And I think that happens because
No.
people just like attacking it.
No.
I
Let
have
me-
to disagree with that.
Go
I
ahead.
have to be the contrarian here. The people
review-
who love the show for what it is now, they're not going to read a review that's negative and then change their minds. This looks like we're going to get exactly like we got last year. We got a Christmas special that grabs several million people because it's the Christmas special. A very lackluster one at that. And when the new season kicks in, I'm going to predict, although I'm sure you all are, maybe one person. I don't know. The numbers are going to fall. They're going to fall just like they did last
I
time.
fear you're right. I hope you're wrong.
You see,
But I
Simon, your theory doesn't. You've got to remember, I always talk about anecdotes sometimes help. That, walking down this village of only 1,000 people, there were old ladies at the bus stop, and after Star Beast, they said they turned off. They were enjoying it, but they turned off once the pronoun debate happened. So, hello, you've brought it on yourself, RTD, is my argument. Michelle, you were disagreeing with Simon as well on this point.
People really don't listen to reviewers. I can give a rat's rear end what reviewers have to say. I mean, here's the other thing. Wallace and Gromit has stayed the same. It's like a warm sweater, but it respects its audience. It respects the core of what Wallace and Gromit is.
Yes.
So when people turn up, they know they're going to see a nice little bit of nostalgia of something that they can put in front of their kids, walk out of the room, and not have to worry about it. It's going to appeal to all ages. I love Wallace and Gromit. It's going to be apparently Netflix is picking it up on January 5th, so we're able to see it in the U.S. So, I mean, this is going to be, I'm looking forward to seeing the Wallace and Gromit special.
Yeah. Well, Stephen, I watched Wallace and Gromit with my partner's family, and it even had really scary gnomes. Yes, I know. My partner said, why can't Doctor Who have something scary like that? It's all I talk about. Robots of death with red eyes. Just get on with it. Should be dead easy, really. But no, they have to go and do other stuff. Hasler Scott, I take your point. Now, Simon's here. He's got his viewpoint. I brought him on because he doesn't necessarily agree with me. I want kickback. Dan this morning on the Detox disagreed with me entirely regarding the Master, and I think it was therefore a very good debate. I had to prove my point harder, and so did Dan. And I hope Simon brings the same back in again. We kick back on him, of course we do. But
I do not think people are stupid. I think people are completely leadable, has been proved by Mr. Trump and Mr. Farage and Mr. just about any other politician you can.
I know, but it's a dangerous argument, though, isn't it? Which is, if politicians...
Oh, they're okay as long as they agree with you, then.
Yeah.
Well, nobody agrees with me. I've been standing as a Green since 1992, and I managed to beat the Conservatives this time out.
Well, the
An
Tories
M&T sandwich could win to the Conservatives right now. So that's not exactly a great argument.
No hands, please.
What I was going to say about the politics is, the argument is that there's populists out there and they're doing too well. Well, why don't the politicians who have spotted that therefore have a stronger message, and then they might win some votes?
They're not very good at it.
Just want to mention, I mean, going back to a program like this, we're not here to pull the show apart and to criticize it. We're here to
we love it,
analyze it, and analyze the different bits, like the sets, the dialogue.
Let's talk about the good bits, the bits you really liked, the bits that made you laugh.
I like the concept of the Time Hotel. I think it was a very good concept.
Mm-hmm.
It was wasted.
And Simon, you've got to remember, on my show, there's a structure. And the structure is we've had burning issues, and then we move on to the ratings.
Okay,
and
I'll shut up. Yeah.
And then we go on to Criterion.
No, nobody hates this show. We love the show.
With my analysis of the ratings, here is just the hard facts. 620,000 viewers, less this year than last year's Christmas special. But what's interesting is EastEnders ratings went up this year. So it's not dying TV per se. You can't make that argument. EastEnders went up. Call the Midwife went up. The King's Speech went up. There's plenty of programs out there where actually their ratings went up. Collar Midwife went up by 300,000. EastEnders went up by 400,000. The King's Speech went up by 800,000. So basically, the argument doesn't hold water.
Yeah,
Doctor Who took a 620,000 viewers hit.
the only thing I would agree with Simon on is the fact that it really wasn't advertised as much as it should have been, given the fact they spent so much money on it. And Russell, the only person who was advertising it was Russell T Davis, who did one interview on radio, I think, and one interview on the One Show, and maybe one interview on the Breakfast Time TV. But that was about it.
He did a couple on YouTube as well.
Oh, did he? Oh, well, yeah. But I mean,
The thing is, some of us YouTubers might get watched even if we don't advertise. It's fascinating how you don't necessarily have to advertise. You just have to have the right output. Wallace and Gromit added 4.36 million more views in 10 minutes. Now, that has to be explained by Bad Wolf and the BBC and RTD.
How are the numbers judged, by the way?
Oh, they have, I mean, you could ask that question. I'd have a long time to go through it. I can't at the moment, but I've got all the figures with me. Doctor Who lost 550,000 in the first 10 minutes. It gained 950,000 in the final 10 minutes as Wallace and Gromit is coming up. If you want to do a comparison of Christmas specials, Peter Capaldi's Christmas specials average 5.7. Jodie Whittaker's 4.4. I know they were on New Year's Eve. Shooty's two together, 4.42. So the program is, you could say, flatlining at the moment around the 4.4 million figure. But Peter Capaldi, who was shoved out, was doing a lot better.
the show is just not as popular as it used to be, and that's basically it, really.
Yeah. And so, I just want to... People have been saying also on Disney that it's 10th in America now, it's 1st in Australia, 9th in Canada, 1st in New Zealand. I think it's 3rd in Germany, that sort of thing. So I have seen the figures. It's a mixed picture, but I suppose my argument all this year has been stuff like this.
So I have a question about that. I'm in Canada, and I don't know where you got that number from, and I'm
Disney
curious.
Plus.
So they're actually publishing the numbers now?
Not the numbers, the placement.
The placement.
They only publish the placement on Disney Plus.
But this is the first time then that they've ever broken into the top 10.
Yeah.
As far as I know, the other times it never made top 10.
Michelle, I think Michelle told me that it was appearing briefly, but then it was disappearing on the ratings.
In the US, I don't know about Canada, but in the US, it would be in the top 10 for a couple of days and then drop away because there was only the couple of episodes, and then the new episode would air and it would pop up again, and then a couple of days it would go down again.
Yeah,
so I'm not sure what Canadian ratings were. It was kind of like that around the world, where it would bump up and then bump down, bump up, then bump down. But Disney also really inflates their numbers. And it's not telling us how much is being viewed and also what it's competing against on Disney Plus.
We'll know the true results of it when the Nielsen figures.
They'll renew it. That's the money talks.
Now, Peter Harrington, my Doctor Who twin, is reminding us, I stayed quiet for once at that point. It was advertised a lot after each evening TV show on the One Show, EastEnders, leading up to Christmas. It had a good shout out. No excuses. And I did see it on the One Show a few times, and I did see it advertised a few times. It's just when you all have your opinion on whether it was advertised a lot or not, I suppose it's what is your barometer for that, and that's all.
Well, I didn't see any big advertising posters anywhere advertising it in train stations.
See, this just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, this is the first news that we got that the BBC was non-committal just several weeks ago. It was everybody always focused on Disney, and then for the first time ever, it was Disney is non-committal, and now it's the BBC is non-committal, and so you were saying, Brendan, that you didn't see much advertising for it.
I did.
But I mean, you did.
Yes.
Okay, because I guess my point is, would it be the amount of advertising that you think that the BBC is like, we've really, really got to push this? I mean,
I think it has been advertised obsessively under RTD1 more so because it really had caught the nation.
it was done like that here too.
Yeah, it hasn't caught the nation now, so it's running against the tide a bit. Now, does the BBC then push it hard? No, it pushes it as much as it should do, but it doesn't push it harder.
Yeah.
And you can tell that because the BBC one ident for the day is Wallace and Gromit. They know that's their show of the day. And actually, RTD give this away. RTD on the One Show in his interview said everybody's talking about Gavin and Stacey. He was almost, I almost said gaslighting. He was almost finding his excuse straight away, saying Gavin and Stacey's going to do well, not my show. You know, it's like bye.
Sounds like if I lose the election, it was rigged.
Yeah,
But if I do win,
it sounds like a kid who walks into my class with the essay saying, I think it's going to do very badly because last night 3 of my grandmas died. You know, they always make up the wrong number and that's the end of it. Right. Okay. So, Joy to the World, Criteria 1. Is it new who, boo who, true who? I'm making everything rhyme now. But as if anyone's new to us, I have asked everybody to give a grading on this. And so I'm going to ask them all for their opinions overall of this story in whether they thought this was like proper Doctor Who and remember, you can judge it very differently. You could actually say it didn't feel like Doctor Who, but was so different and it worked. You know, you can still give it high for that. However, it's not my opinion that counts here. I'll start with Rachel. Your thoughts on the first Criteria. I've got your grades here. If you ever forget, don't worry.
It had okay, so the Time Hotel is a great concept. I've said that already. It had elements of sci-fi, Doctor Who, history, you know, all of that I associate with Doctor Who. But there was a lot of waiting around in between and not much figuring out seen on the screen. So I ended up saying that I gave it a 4 for that criteria.
Out of 10, yep.
Yeah, 4 out of 10. So it needs improvement, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So it needs some work. I'd like to have seen it more tied in, more figured out, the Doctor doing much more problem solving and actually the Doctor saving the day rather than the impossible girl.
Yeah. And we'll come round again, but on Criteria 1, you can see where Rachel's given a lower mark, which I've collected, and we'll share the full data, or we'll wait till you see the results. Yes, my issue was, of course, the domestic Doctor. The Doctor normally over the 61 years has been adventuring and helping out and not doing the plumbing. And so there were a few issues there, I thought, about the Doctor. It wasn't the Doctor. The Silurians weren't the Silurians. The only true bit of Silurian we got was he said, I got lost in the caves. And so you thought, am I supposed to be triggered to going, oh, it's like the Malcolm Hulk adventure all over again. Oh, please, I need a bit more than that. Simon, your marks, you don't have to tell us the marks, but you can tell us what you thought regarding True Who, Boo Who. Is this the Doctor? Does this feel like Doctor Who?
I thought and think that the show is objectively good. Subjectively, that's a matter of opinion. And I objectively saw lots of things that I greatly appreciated. There were things which I saw which I don't like, but I can objectively say they were done well. Things which I saw that I liked a lot and everybody else seems to have disliked. So on that criteria, I marked it high.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody's keeping a score, I mean, so you can see there's transparency here. There's nothing made up. Rachel said 4 out of 10. Simon gave it 7 out of 10. Jeremy, how did you feel about this? Because you have been away from Doctor Who slightly, and so I've forced you back in an evil way.
No, you did. Thanks, Brendan.
1 minute he's doing the Planet of the Daleks review with us, and the next minute he's doing blooming shooty. So,
will you watch this, Jeremy? All right, fine. Okay, cool.
All right, if I have to.
so go on then. Talk us through your grades then.
I can't remember them now. I think mainly it was just it didn't feel to me to be Doctor Who. I did like the sets. The dialogue was rubbish. The concept of the Time Hotel, as Rachel was saying, was very good, and it could have been expanded upon, and they could have had lots of old enemies and foes in there just to spice it up a bit.
Yeah.
But the bit where he's stuck on Earth was kind of boring and very soap opera-y,
And not Doctor Who.
and not Doctor Who for me.
So you gave it 5 out of 10.
I'll tell you this much: it's everything I expected it was going to be, in terms of what I've seen in the first 2 episodes of season 1.
So if everybody's keeping an eye on the marks, 1 to 3 gets you special measures, knackers yard, rubbish Doctor Who. Needs improvement is 4 to 6. 7 to 8 is good. 9 to 10 is outstanding. Jeremy gave it 5. Rachel gave it 4. They both thought needs improvement. Simon gave it 7, as in it's good. And Michelle, let's come to you.
This was tough because, again, I go into Doctor Who wanting to like it because it's Doctor Who. I want a good time. But this one of all, and I've been really charitable for Shooty's run. So far, I'm going to have to say this one was like a 3 to 3.5. I did not feel like Doctor Who at all. It felt like two scripts got jammed together. Like this was the first draft but it had really good ideas going forward into it. The Time Hotel, brilliant. This idea that somewhere in the future of Earth, you could visit any major time in history. Are you there just to watch? Are you there to meddle? What's going on? Who's running it? So that alone could have been a fascinating episode. The Doctor gets stranded in a historical time period and needs to figure out how to what's going on. So, but unfortunately, between the domestic drama, the poor use of Nicola Coughlan, I'm just gonna have to give it a 3.
Right, so you can see where you all sit. So Steve, you're with Jeremy just about with the 5.5, but with Michelle, we've got a few people who are beating you to it, with Babette saying 2, Frank saying 1. Everybody's free. Paul Richards 1 to 3, laughably bad at times. Coming to you, Brian, how did you feel about, was this true Doctor Who to you, the true Doctor to you? How did you mark?
Can I change my answers?
No, it's not.
I'll tell you this. I'm going to be honest. It's Christmas.
It's
It's Christmas, and I was. It's Christmas, and I was feeling very, very generous, specifically because out of
Everybody else
only,
doesn't like it, so you don't like it now. Yeah. That's
well,
my point.
I saw, like I said, I've only seen the first 2 full-fledged Shurigawa episodes, and then the Christmas special, and then when he appeared at the end with David Tennant. And out of all of that, I found this one, well, at least it's not as bad as those. That doesn't necessarily mean I enjoyed it or I liked it. I just felt, out of all the Who's I've seen with Shooty, I just thought this one, it wasn't as bad as the rest. So as far as true Who or boo Who, like I said, I was very generous. Needs improvement, but I gave it a 6. And
But
I'm
when you-
ashamed.
I
Those
wouldn't
of
say
you on
that.
the message boards, you may scold me if you wish.
So far, if you're keeping in the running, you've got Rachel left 4 marks. You've got Simon 7. You've got Brian give it 6. Michelle gave it 3. Jeremy give it 5, and I give it 5. Requires improvement. You know why? I'll try not to keep repeating my little elements, but basically, the pseudo philosophical garbage, as you said, Brian, all that nonsense about the hotel room says so much about you because your house
that annoyed me to death.
No, it's called whatever fits in their budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just hope that somebody wasn't murdered in it beforehand.
They were just
empty room as opposed to a house. In the empty room, all you see is the person. In the house, you can hide behind things, was the argument they gave. Not so much the room that you choose in a hotel, because as everybody says, you don't get to choose.
Speaking of reviews, Simon, we've been very generous with our scores, because on other reviews and other channels, they're like -10. So
that's why I'm on this show.
Yeah, so I think it's come out reasonably okay-ish.
Although
I
Gary,
found that
I did have Retro Doc. I think Rachel will remember. Didn't he give it -10 when we did one review once?
I can't remember which one it was for though.
Yeah,
Even
Gary.
for Rogue, I want to say.
Sorry, Gary Retrodoc did actually break my marking criteria at one point. But yes, people have been dead respectful. I've asked between 0 and 10, and they've stuck to it tonight. You watch as the season goes on; they'll start pushing the boundaries. But yes, you've stuck within that criteria. So I don't know how other shows explain the -10 apart from being extremely hyperbolic and subjective, which is what I hate as a teacher. As an English teacher, we stick to our mark criteria, and then it stops you from being silly. So the
Can
salary,
I say one more thing, Brendan?
of course you can.
Oh, great. Yeah. So polite, us Canadians, aren't we? I'm sorry. Rachel, I'm sorry. Jeremy, I'm sorry. Michelle, sorry.
Stand up for yourself. It's okay. You can do it.
Okay.
I had an emotional response to that speech about how you can tell so much more about a person from their hotel room than their own home, and how you hide behind things. My partner was watching with me, and even she couldn't believe what she was hearing. You walk into somebody's home, you can find out what their musical tastes are, what they like in art, what kind of food they like. The list goes on. You're not hiding behind it. In your home, you showcase your personality, and you showcase what makes you you, or what.
Yeah.
Look at all of our rooms. We got Daleks everywhere, so I guess we know what we like.
Yeah,
But
when you got
the whole hotel room thing, I just thought it was just not even pretentious. I was like supposed to be pseudo intellectual garbage, is what I thought it was.
Yes, it
Just
was
garbage.
It was.
Terrible dialogue.
What do you think, Jesus? Was that? I mean, no, he's Moses. I think he's Moses. He's losing his hair.
there.
But anyway,
Keep taking the tablets.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But the doctor said what I pointed out.
Now, Sir X-Man, you've been very generous tonight. Ham, cheese, toasty, and a latte. Anybody want one?
No.
Do you know what?
No, thank you.
I was sick of hearing about it in the trailers, and I thought, is this all for a really rubbish payoff joke?
Yeah.
You know,
Is toasty like a grilled cheese sandwich for us Americans? What is a toasty exactly?
Toasted sandwich.
Toasted
Yeah.
sandwich.
Okay,
Sandwich,
fair,
you toast it.
Piece of toast.
That's what my parents wanted to know. They wanted to know what toasty was. I'm like, it's grilled something.
Heather, good to see you. I honestly think this special was just too dull to get a score from me. Oh, Heather, you see, all you giving low marks, you need to come on, write to me, because Brian wrote to me a few weeks ago. Look, he's sat there now in prime position to give it a high mark. Heather, come on, everybody join us, because everybody's vote is the same. Everybody's equal on this one.
I thought the sets were good. I thought that.
The sets.
He's on my naughty set. Stop starting you. That's Criterion, you little swine.
I heard that totally wrong. Wow.
Yes, Criteria 2. You're jumping too soon.
Yes.
So, Michelle, you did make another point on Criterion, saying it was also disjointed.
Yeah, I felt like 2 episodes being put together, because one minute we're at the Time Hotel, and the next minute we're like at the Lodger. It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Where was this tonally? What was this episode supposed to be?
And Brian's just gone there, because I was about to bring
Brian's just back for you.
Brian, okay, I'll do it fast to be nice and fluent. Brian, you actually said for Criteria 1, even though you give it 6 out of 10, you talked about the crying doctor.
Yeah, actually, and I took notes on that, which I know you've seen. Let me see here. Yeah, it took under 18 minutes for him to cry for the first time. Then he cried again at 29 and a half minutes. And then he cried again at 49 minutes and 42 seconds, roughly. And I know Russell said, he'll be even more emotional.
Yeah,
in the coming season. Well, technically, we haven't hit the coming season, and he cried 3. Can we say bloody on this channel? I mean, I'm Canadian. I don't know.
Well, you'll end up on my naughty step. No.
He cried 3 bloody times in one episode. Come on.
Naughty step.
The naughty step's mine.
I'm going to be muted for a minute. No, I just thought. I saw a lot of people on Twitter and various forums. Did you, Rachel, Jeremy, Simon, Michelle, Brian? Did you see people saying they blubbed for the whole episode? I didn't. The one point, if I was ever going to cry through this episode, and there's nothing wrong with crying, but the only time I would have felt most emotional was saying goodbye to Anita because she was the most well-rounded character. And so I thought it was a sad goodbye because while he's the doctor, she's just a normal woman. What was nice was that she got a promotion at the end into the Time Hotel. But that was the only bit I didn't understand this blubbing. I certainly wasn't going to blub at the end when she turns into a star and commits suicide. No.
I cried
he
easy and
looked
I
quite
didn't cry
pleased.
at this.
I'm sorry, Michelle. If you want to, Michelle, go ahead and
Suicide
repeat that, please. Go
movie
ahead,
for this
Michelle.
show.
I cry easy and I didn't cry at this. I mean, I teared up a little bit when Ruby met her biological mother. I only watched like the last 10 minutes of the Witch in the Wardrobe one with Matt Smith, and I'm tearing up watching that. I mean, I cry easy, and I'm like, and I didn't even, I cried watching the Muppets Christmas Carol. Okay, so if this is the fact that I didn't cry at this,
It's just
3 times too.
It's just good drama, surely. And look, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is one day and try and write a play. But the point is, if you want to focus your audience's sympathies somewhere, Anita was the one. Stephen Moffat, you had it in the bag. So why did I need the Derry Girl? Why did I need Trev? Why did I need all these other ones? Yeah, you need people to die. It's Doctor Who. But my sympathies were all won over with Anita. And so please just give her the episode. Surely that would have been the point. And then I might have blubbed at the end if she then had a horrible farewell at the end. I mean, I'd have spent an hour with her and really got to like her. Instead, it was about 15 or 20 minutes and it just wasn't enough, even though she was well-rounded. So as a writer, and he's a quality writer, what was he trying to do with me? Because he was half in, half out.
Set up a spin-off.
Or season 3 companion, I guess.
Yeah, or bring her back as a companion. People have responded really well to her from what I've seen.
Yes.
So
I loved her.
I really
I thought she was the best part of the whole show, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And I can freely be a positive about the actress and the character she played. I loved her. And I didn't like Donna Noble in The Runaway Bride, but I was glad when she came back because he did change her.
Yes, thankfully.
Yeah. The X-Man, he loves the YouTube podcast. I'd love to be on your show one day talking about Doctor Who. You know what? X me, DM me, census3@gmail. I'm on Discord as well. You only need to write. Brian, it's easy, isn't it?
Very.
It's true.
So there you go on that one. So what did you make of the doctors talking to each other? We had a multi-doctor story. That's great Doctor Who, isn't it? Criterion 1. Don't we all love the 3 doctors, the 2 doctors with Colin Baker and Troughton? Don't we love all this? Everyone goes on about the 5 doctors. And now we had 2 shooties. Hooray.
I think one's enough.
Is my mic working? Can you hear that?
I won't say the 5 doctors, will I? No,
I didn't like the dialogue though, saying because you're mysterious, all your companions leave you. Because basically, factually, that was totally incorrect. And since I'm judging it on Is This True Who, that is just completely wrong. William Hartnell chucked Susan out the TARDIS, and I could go on and on and on and on and on, but that is a load of baloney. Tegan walked of her own free will. I could list them all. Nyssa said bye-bye.
Doesn't make any sense at all. Quite right.
It makes no sense.
It's not that they don't like him. They just move on.
Exactly, they grow.
Their contracts expire.
Yes. Or they get pregnant, or
Or they join something in Marvel.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the director doesn't like them.
So
or they become an agent.
But
So for
then,
those-
he's got problems at the moment. He's half a man, so it could be saying that because he's having a crisis in his mind at the moment.
I think that's a valid point. Yes,
So if I just kind of help everybody with Criterion 1, True Who or Boo Who, blah, 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 the panel of 6 have given it 30 out of 60. So you can see the classification is going to start revealing itself. Now, criteria 2 is where we play fair as well, where, if whether it's a big budget or not is an effective use of resources. So Horror Fan Rock, with its limited Pebble Mill budget, did a brilliant set. Yeah, you could make an argument about the Rutan. I actually loved it at the time. The acting was phenomenal, well selected. I could go on. The set design, brilliant. Now, with the budget it's got now, was it effective use of resources? And we judge it in that kind of way. But because there's so many things you could pick, each one of my panelists might give their grade based on acting or directing or whatever. That's their choice. It's not mine. So, Rachel, Criterion 2, how did you feel on this one?
Okay, so I would say I gave it a 6.
Yep.
There's various reasons why I gave it a 6. Obviously, it's not a perfect story. There are plot holes in it, and that's generally what brought it down overall. But I think in the terms of acting, and I'm basing it off of that, it was much more improved this time. I felt like he was a lot better, but that's because the writing in general was stronger, no matter what people actually think of the act. Have I frozen? Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I
Yep.
froze for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've lost my train of thought because I froze now. So basically his performance was better. If they had given this as a first story, this type of story, I think for him that I would have been fine with it.
Yeah, you did.
so.
You said that. So please, go on. Please, I know we can have a panel of 20,000. It doesn't matter. Let's go back to you, Rachel. What's your thinking behind that then? Why did you think this would have worked as a good introduction to Shooty? What was it about it you liked?
Because there was no singing.
Yeah.
And by this point, I think he's also getting to grips with it a bit as well, actually. But his energy was pulled back, and sometimes, particularly with someone like Shooty, less is more in this case. And he would be easier to pull back because it's always those with the zany amount of energy that are like, okay, pull it back. You can get them to do that, whereas it's difficult to up your game. And I found that he had more conviction, and just because he was more sort of honed in, his performance was better. I think if he had been given a much more subtle story rather than it being song and dance routine and being quite wacky, I would have liked it more because he was reined in. So
Yeah,
I think he was just better this time around.
It's interesting, Rachel, isn't it? That Shooty Gatwa in a recent interview talked about he has a team with him, and they try and make sure he's not typecast. And my argument was, I think it was in our stream called The Importance of Being Untarnished, was that in the roles he's picked so far, the big ones anyway, he's quite elevated. He's actually he's hyper normal. He's not playing a normal rundown. I'd love to see Shooty Gatwa in Coronation Street playing some pleb. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he's challenged.
If he had given us that performance to begin with, I mean, he had misgivings about doing Boom, didn't he, because of the stationary bit. But if he had given us that performance to begin with, I think a lot of people would have been happier.
Yes.
He was good at Masters of Air, where he had to play a straight American character, and he becomes a POW. And he played a very understated, non-Shooty role, and he was good in it.
Well, there you go. And we are playing fair. Mad Mackham up the road there. Sunderland doing better than Middlesbrough. So criteria 2, 6 out of 10 he's given it.
I give it a 6. And I wanted to talk about the acting. So there you go.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's good.
Music still far too loud in the sound mix. Yes.
I agree with that.
No.
Yeah. Sets are good. Acting very good, as Rachel's just said. And we need Rachel to... Rachel keeps an eye on that, and it's always a good shout out because, to be honest, it's fair dues. I hate talking about the war games in colour and other things and dissing it completely because the snag is I know all those skillful people behind the scenes who are busting a gut to make it look good. And it's just, unfortunately, sometimes an editorial decision makes everybody notice whether the war chief's the master rather than, isn't it brilliant colorization? And that, I think, is a real disappointment. So yes, Rachel, I totally agree. The sets are great. I thought the acting, he's better when he's slower. As I said earlier, I just think you need a strong director, some good scripts that actually challenge Shooty from being, I think, his instinctive, ebullient self.
Mhm.
Yep.
Challenge him.
And I think this did challenge him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jeremy, you've been sitting there quietly waiting. Now, you're new back to Doctor Who. I keep saying that in a terrible way. I don't mean it like that. But you know what I mean? In how it looked, in how the budget's used, I saw that you gave that, Jeremy, a 6.
Did I? I thought I put 7.
Oh, well, 6 or 7. It's still in, it's just roughly the same bracket. But
Yeah.
so yeah, you were impressed.
Yeah, I like the sets. I like the Time Hotel set, the all of the sets, the Orient Express set. I thought it was very good. Looks like they'd obviously spent a bit of money on it.
Yeah.
And the visual effects I had no problem with. I thought they were good. The music was inobtrusive, but it wasn't memorable. And
Yeah.
unlike the war games, of course, which the music was just in every section of.
It was a bit. I thought the music, and Murray Gold does as he's told. I understand, a bit like Mark Writers does with. But it was a bit schmaltzy at the beginning. I hate it when they do that, when it's kind of nudging the audience that it's going to be light and frothy. And as soon as we got in the bar and we started having deaths like this one here, then the music changed and it got more sinister. And I thought, can't we just do that? Murray Gold completely changed everything. Brilliant. And this is, I like that effect, actually. The effects, the sets, overall acting, all these little touches, like all them little pamphlets and everything.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. Michelle,
did everybody catch the assassination special? So you can see Lincoln and Kennedy.
Yeah. Now,
Pizza.
Now, Michelle, you gave it an 8.
I did, because I love the set. I thought it was gorgeous. I want to go in there and explore all the nooks and crannies. The clothing was fantastic for the Time Hotel. I mean, they definitely were using the BBC stock wardrobes, but they were accurate. They're beautiful. They were lush. I love that. So, I mean, that's where the money's being well spent for the effects. And like the Orient Express set, that was gorgeous, but they need to match it with the plot and the acting.
Now, Raymond Williams is just bringing us to book. Remember, everyone has a fair opinion on this show. It's all allowed. Hiya, Raymond. 10 episodes in, and Shooty has yet to convince us the Doctor. He needed to act rather than be himself. It's too late now. And that's your opinion, because obviously, like my dad, everybody has their moment and just say, I've given up on it. Season 2 is recorded and his Doctor's character will stay the same. Well, obviously in the trailer, and I've got the shots, he's wearing a kind of kilt skirt thing. They're going that way again. That's not going to please everybody, the casual viewers out there. I think it's unnecessary provocation. Go on, Rachel.
It'll be whether or not, because obviously we don't know if when they filmed this, it'll be whether or not he's taken from this what he did in this episode and he's built on it. That will be interesting to see.
Yeah. I mean, if I just show you here, for example, the skirt, the kilt, or whatever you want to call it, good old Verada Setho, we can talk about her later. But his costume is interesting, I think I'll say. As I remember one of my very first saloons, the costume designer said she was told from on high to do gender pushing, societal pushing outfits. And it looks as though they're going for it. That might turn off some of the general public, I feel. So that's a shame.
I have to hold my nose for those things.
Yeah, I just think it's unnecessary. Why are we doing it? Just why are we doing it?
He needs to stick to what he's wearing in the Christmas specials. I love the coat,
Yes.
leather coat.
Mm.
With the
Yeah.
you change the shirts, change the trousers, but also he looks really good when he's running in it. You know, the
Yes.
lines of it, and he's a good runner. We need to have him running up and down corridors a little bit more. I mean, when he was jumping through,
Oh,
the
Michelle,
hotel-
we'll have to have a fight with you because I'm trying to say to Rachel, we're going to have him very still, and you're saying let's have him running. I mean,
well, at times, not all the time.
Got him
But
stopped.
it needed to be. It needs to be.
Him leaping over the chimney pots in the church on Ruby Road was the best bit.
Yes.
Boink, boink, and then the lines of the coat flapping behind him. That's what you think of as a doctor.
Now, Simon, you gave it 8 as well for the production values. What did you want to pick out particularly?
Well, all the positives that have been mentioned so far. Thank you for doing so. I agree with a lot of them. Whether or not they match the plot line, and whether or not they're worth the money which could have been spent differently, was not the question I thought I was being asked. I might have marked lower under those circumstances. My first mark was a high one when I thought we were just talking about Christmas shows. When I realized we were talking about in general, I marked lower. But in a Christmas show, I thought this was above and beyond the others that we have had. But in general terms, I think an 8 is completely valid. I really think he ought to be given a handkerchief. This chap, it's really mess. Dear.
Yeah, snotty
Yeah.
nose. It went everywhere. He's obviously got a very bad bout of hay fever. If I can say this right, Tim Kins, a skirt is not the worst thing, but it is an embarrassing little ritual of you don't like this, do you? That's the point. And yes, I think a lot of us have been saying there seems to be a lot of baiting going on that's just unnecessary, whether it's religion, politics, societal pushing outfits. You take your pick. Okay, so on Criterion,
Can I just restate my point that
how come you get to say it twice?
I didn't get to say it at all.
I know how I will get you.
You can notice, and I noticed lots of things which I dislike, and I try to reject them so I can appreciate the good bits.
Right. Well, quite rightly, Brian, because you left and came back, I've sent you. No, I haven't. So, Brian, on Criteria 2, you gave it 8 as well.
I did.
So, what do you want to pick out particularly, Fair Dues?
Well, actually, it's probably easier if I pick out what I didn't like compared to everything else. I mean, like I think it was Michelle saying, like, just the little touches, everything, the colors, the sets were all great. What I didn't like, the only things I thought it's like, you know, Disney put a lot of money into this for the special effects. So the only thing that had me say, really, on top of the train, it did not look as good as everything else. And surprisingly, what should have been the easiest shot of the entire show was when she rose up at the end and started glowing. I mean, there could have been somebody behind her with like just holding her up on a stick and having a bright light shine. It looked terrible. Mm-hmm. That had my jaw drop. But to what Simon has been saying, like when I watch Classic Who, if I see something that looks bad, or they didn't quite pull it off, and let's face it, it happens a lot on Classic Who. They didn't have the money to do that kind of thing. And I always just suspended disbelief. I was like, you know what? It didn't look that great. So what? The overall is what counts for me. But sadly, I believe in that. I'm constantly telling my partner that, and she sometimes agrees with me. She's watched a few of the Classic Who's and thought, yeah, this is actually good enough where I'll overlook it. But this show seems to suffer from the opposite. It's where they have now good production values and special effects. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the actual story and pacing and characters and everything, it's just
But that's terrible. Why
it's all over the map.
That's why with Criteria 2, my issue is Stephen Moffat is an experienced showrunner as well. He's done Sherlock, he's done Doctor Who, etc., as well as other programs. He knows what he's doing. That's why he's a trusted pair of hands. So I was a bit surprised that he was happy to waste some of the budget on a joke, like building the Orient Express set for basically a joke.
Did they build it, or did they just?
Yes, they did. On Unleashed, they built the set. And so you're wasting budget on unnecessary, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, Christmas cracker joke. So that disappointed me because an experienced showrunner and clever writer would have thought, I don't think I need to exhaust the budget there. I'd rather they did a bit more. I mean, as I said this morning, the war games was a clever idea because you could have gone to war zones forever. You got to get going. The Time Hotel, clever concept. We didn't really go to many time zones at all, if you get me.
We should have. I wanted to see more time zones.
Yeah, it's a time show.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
You
like
could do a whole arc on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
whole season.
Key to time. Key to time.
He's stuck in the time hotel trying to make things right. He's
Time
got locked out of the TARDIS. Something's happened to the TARDIS, and he has to figure it out.
Well,
Yeah.
they did say they're going to
And again,
reuse
it's like
the
a
set.
big finishing ideas.
Go on, Jeremy.
They did say they were going to reuse the set. So
Yeah,
for something,
like Arkin Smith, like Nerva Beacon.
yeah, they probably will reuse it a few times. I should think.
Now, Sean should know better. He should know better. Middlesbrough lad here. I feel we're trying to convince ourselves that we've had a good episode with the beauty of the sets. No, it's just that we judge on everything. A good review has burning issues, contentions. We look at the plot, engagement, and we also look at how it's made. Isn't that? Am I missing anything?
Come back on, Sean. Come back on.
Oh, he is going to come back on. I only met him at the match the other day. In fact, I met him on Christmas Day by accident. I was walking the dog and suddenly he appeared like the shopkeeper, Mr. Ben. So, of course, Sean, he's getting a yellow card as well. I tell you what, my Christmas card list.
You're going to run out of naughty steps.
I'll tell you what, I'll need a whole ladder. So
when he said we, did he mean Who fans collectively or us?
I think he means us. Because
I'm definitely not doing that.
No, you're judging it just on specific criteria. The last one, of course. So that was 44 out of 60 we gave it as a collective. So we are where we are. So now we come to the final one, which I think is the make or break for anything in a play or TV film. Does it engage your audience? And did the audience like the story writing? And did they like the resolution? Because there's no escape. You can have your fancy sets, your fancy costumes, your sparkling dialogue, but if the last 10 minutes is rubbish and a daft reset button, you're going to really be called out. And good, yes, Sean's now said he's got his dunce's cap on and he's in the corner. Yeah, too right. Detention, mate. Right. So, so here we go. So let's start again with Rachel. Now, Rachel, you weren't blowing up smoke up their bum this time, were you?
No, I was not. Not for this one. No. Right. So I will say I was engaged. Okay. And the story writing for this, I mean, it's full of Moffat tropes. Okay. I was even at best. I went in with zero expectations. I enjoyed it more than I thought I did.
Your sound's gone.
Rachel, you went.
Yeah.
I think Stephen Moffat pulled the plug.
I think Rachel sounded like the teacher in Charlie Brown. Remember her?
Am I back? Am I back?
You're back.
Am I back?
Yes.
You're back.
Yep.
Okay, good. I lost the audience. You're absolutely right. Okay, right. So I'll start again. So
Don't turn the kettle on this time.
no, I won't. I won't. So yeah, what was I saying? No, I've lost my train of thought. Oh no. Okay, so yes, I was not holding back with this one. I gave it a very low score. I gave it a 2. I was incredibly harsh, and so sue me. But I was engaged. The story writing was mid at best. It was full of the Moffat tropes that we often see, and the acting was a lot better. But I was not happy with the resolution. The resolution just brought me down a ton. Okay, it was the Impossible Girl storyline all over again. It's been done. I'm bored of it.
Yeah.
But also the creation of a massive plot hole. Because, well, at least I think it was a plot hole, unless I got that completely wrong. Because she says her mother is dead, right? But if she's in a paradox and she becomes the star, then surely she would have known her mother evaporated. Or how would she have known her mother evaporated? You know, so I'm just like, I was like, it just convoluted it a bit, if you know what I mean. So I was just happy with the resolution. I just wish it had been something else. So it brought it all the way down to a miserable 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you were the miserliest on this one, believe it
I
or not.
know. Harsh.
But that's good. We need the whole diverse setups. Jeremy, on this one, you gave it a 6.
I know. I'd like to revise it down to a 5 or a 4.
Don't worry. In the scheme of things, it'll still be the classification's okay. Go on. If you explain why you were disappointed.
Yeah, I mean the dialogue was not great. There was no classic lines in there. There was
We had lots.
no, it didn't.
It was really funny. I laughed myself silly often.
It wasn't engaging for about 30%, 40% of the time.
That's a different matter.
And you know, what more can I say? Really, I mean the conclusion was okay-ish, apart from one or two other little bits. But I don't want to go into that because obviously I find it a bit too much near. You know.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't. It was all right, but it wasn't fantastic. Let's put it that way.
Doctor Who. If you think of the end of 73 Yards, we had a mother in a hospital bed, and then she saw.
I'll tell you this much: I thought it was going to be a lot worse. But as a casual, if I was a casual viewer, I would say, yeah, it was okay. It was entertaining. As a fan, it was all right.
Yeah, but would you have stayed for the whole 54 minutes if it wasn't for this stream? Because I forced you back. So were you entertained for the whole 54 minutes? Would you have stuck with it?
Probably entertained about maybe 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I knew when I started typing my notes for today's show, when I thought nothing's happening. It was when he was doing the sink plunger and everything.
I mean, I'm not going to be mean or disingenuous. It was okay, but it would not induce me to come and watch season 2, the whole of season 2.
I called it
the rest of season 1.
I called it just a tiny stocking filler.
Yeah.
It was like I said, I think my best adjective is it was inconsequential. It didn't spark any interest, but it wasn't rubbish. It was just meh.
It's a stocking filler full of chocolate bars, and some of them, or most of them, were not your favourite ones.
Yeah.
You know,
you'll eventually eat them, but not straight away. Yeah.
Oh, there's about 3 you like, and the other 3 you like, and the other 3 you've got to give to somebody else.
Yeah, you'll give to your gran says, can I have? No, you just get it. But
I can't be mean. It's Christmas.
So we've had your grading. We've had Rachel's. Simon, you gave this one for basically resolution and the actual engagement. You gave it 7.
Yes, because I was entertained. I did not get bored. I wanted to know what happened next. I wanted to know how the characters felt, how they changed over time. I liked the way Trevor redeemed himself in his own eyes, and the doctor loved him physically, which I didn't quite understand. So many little things like that I liked that were perfectly reasonable as a storyline when compared to lots of other television programs I've had a look at and watched. Others I turn off because something has jarred with me, or I just don't like the feel, or there's just something unpleasant about it. Goes against my feelings. With Doctor Who, even if I didn't love the show for 60 odd years, it did not rub me up the wrong way. There were things that I have not liked in other Doctor Who episodes, and as I've said, Holman knows, and then I rewatch it and then possibly watch it again, because there's always something new to discover, like any great work of art.
Or you've been an aficionado. You see, this is the trick. We're all Doctor Who fans here, so we always give things a second or third chance. I always try desperately to think like the mainstream audience who might give it 10 minutes and then leave the room and say, I'm doing the dishes instead, like my dad did. It's like, you know, why?
I can't make a judgment for other people.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But no, but we're talking about casual viewers. My dad's not a Doctor Who fanatic like I am. And so I may watch it again for this stream, for example, to make sure I'm as correct as I can be. But my dad is reasonable. He'll watch the Bill old episodes. He'll watch other stuff. But he just said, nah, it wasn't interesting. And that's a fair comment. And I don't think it was overall.
Yeah,
And
I was looking at my phone, as I said, through some of the episodes, so I guess I wasn't fully engaged.
As a Doctor Who fan, I'm desperately saying, can I have some jeopardy? Can I have a shiver down the spine? Can I have a moment like when Donna had the puppets on her back? Please, can we have something? We've now had 10 episodes, and while people are making their judgments now definitely about the shooty Doctor and the 15th Doctor, my judgment is Doctor Who is lost to me because they just don't want to go there. Behind the sofa is some myth that happened in the old days, and I don't know why they're fearing it.
A bit of jeopardy, a bit of power and hatred was when I can't remember her name, shouted at the Doctor about being wound up. That was powerful. That hit home. I felt tingles up my neck.
Yeah. I mean, it has its moments. I mean, Brian, on your scoring, let's have a look. You gave it a 6.
Very generously.
So you had it as good for engagement and satisfactory conclusion.
You know what? Like, I'm not kidding when I say I'm being generous. I was actually thinking more as like an average viewer than myself. But yeah, it's. I guess the problem with Who now is that, like, when Russell T Davies brought it back, he said he wanted to bring it into the modern era. So obviously, we have to have character development and these, the little moments in the cafe. Like, don't forget, Rose sat with her mother and Mickey in the shop, having pizza or whatever. I think what's happening to the show is that they're starting to focus too much on the human element. And they're losing that edge that the classic series had with just adventures, monsters. I think they're just spending too much time trying to make it like every other show. I mean, every other show on television, as far as like a drama goes or a sci-fi show, you can compare them and maybe even lump them all together. But Doctor Who was something unique. And I think what's happening with the show, and especially with the Christmas specials, they're becoming bland. There's just nothing about it that's grabbing me anymore. It's not doing it anymore. And I so want it to.
Yeah, my question now really on Doctor Who now is, please tell me, showrunner, writer, expert, what was the reason for me, the viewer, to watch it? What was I going to get out of it? Because to be honest, it was a bit of this and a bit of that, a bit of fun for the Christmas day, a little bit of a joke for Christmas day. It was just a bit. It was like a licorice all sort. It's like, whatever. What's the point? So then I go, what was the point of Boom? What was the point of 73 Yards? What was the point of Empire of Death? And I start to say, what is the point? I know you've been asked to make it. For example, RTD always says, if BBC One controller says, there's a slot for you on Christmas Day schedules, you're not going to say no. But that feels as though they're just saying yes out of duty, and then they have to fill it with something. It doesn't feel as though they're filling it with something special. They're just filling it. And that's how it feels to me. And as to your point, Brian, about where we're going with this, I just feel as though they are not interested in the Doctor character. They're interested in the human companions. They're interested in humans. I noticed on Twitter and everything, people are saying, Anita's now the companion we need. She's the new companion. Everybody's interested because she was well written. However, the Doctor wasn't.
Yeah, but they're trying to make the Doctor more human than ever now.
Exactly.
More than ever. And all it can do is think back to, I think I mentioned before, Tom Baker, after Professor Scarman died and Marcus and saying, like, Sarah was like, don't you get, I can't remember the exact line, but Sarah was upset that somebody had just died. And to him, it was just like one person out
As
of
opposed to
millions. You have to put it into perspective. Colin Baker's doctor, whom I didn't particularly like, but he say,
Oh, oh, oh.
I
What?
saw that.
Sorry, I
I'm
couldn't
watching
help
you.
it. No, you are perfectly fine to not like him. It's
No,
fine.
no,
There's,
and
there's the
actually
naughty step.
that brings about a good point, though. Is like I can look back on the classic series and say, you know what, I didn't like Baker, number 2, and I didn't like McCoy, for the most part, and now I can jump forward to the new series and say I didn't like Jodie Whittaker, I didn't like Ncuti Gatwa. But the problem is that they're making them too human now, and the whole point about Doctor Who is not just like you say, alien adventures in space and having that fear and terror, pushing it along. Now the Doctor has been diluted down to this. When Paul McGann said, "I'm half human on my mother's side," he's really actually becoming half human.
I feel like our great showrunners have decided that the male Doctor, of course, it doesn't have to be male anymore, is too toxic, too pompous, and therefore they're diminishing him, devaluing him, because they're raising the status of other people in the plot. In other words, we've got people who are happy to take the wage and the pension on Doctor Who, but they're not interested in the Doctor Who character. So basically, it's a little bit of a sleight of hand that's going on here. And then they call out the fans who are saying, but this isn't the Doctor. This hasn't never been like this. You're changing all the rules of Doctor Who. And they say, go away. I'm sorry, but it's you who are changing the show because you're bored. But you can't be bothered now making another years and years, or it's a sin. You just want to sit and trash and vandalize and take ownership of the whole 61 years of Doctor Who. He is the toy.
On that note, I know we're not here for it, so I'll just be brief. War Games. I didn't see it. Terrible.
I haven't watched it yet.
I thought it was terrible.
I mean, I've watched the original War Games, but I've not watched the colorized version yet.
And to what Simon was saying, and you as well, Brendan, you go back and you watch it again, and you might see something you didn't see before, and you go back and watch again. I might have seen the War Games. I had to watch it 3 times before I really began to enjoy it and appreciate it for what it was. And it's a little. I got to admit, when these guys run in holding guns that are like almost 4 feet long, and they're wearing tight, God knows what those uniforms are made of, and the goggles. It's extremely campy. But overall, at the time it came out, it was a lot of fun, a good story, and it brought in the Time Lords and everything. And when I didn't see the colorized version.
Yeah.
The music was so in your face. I was just like, could you stop it for 5 minutes so we could actually have some characters talking to each other?
As I said earlier today, Troughton in I think episode 3 particularly was playing the inspector, pretending he was the inspector, and to try and get Jamie freed and all the rest of it. And he was acting his socks off, but all I heard was this music blasting, and I just thought that's just disrespectful to the. I'll let you come in a minute, Simon. I've just got to help the thread here because the thread are very lively. I can't ignore them too long. Mad Mackham, I do think the Doctor and Anita had a real chemistry with very little help to and from the script, and that's a feeling hard to manufacture. And I think, as a lot of the panel have said, I better if season 3 exists, I wonder if she'll be back, because I think everybody on the production team will have noted the chemistry. And I don't know what's happened to Verada Sethu. None of us know. So it might be interesting. And that's how Donna Noble was picked up. Let's be honest. Catherine Tate, they saw something. She wasn't the finished article, but you just had to tinker with that character, and then you got gold dust. And the thread, yeah, the silliest part is I'm all the categories they pretend to protect, and I've never felt hate like now. Yeah, join the Gandhi I mean, I don't think gay is minority anymore because it has to be another category now. We saw yesterday.
You're the Q word, I think.
Yeah, I've been bundled in with a orphan of a little alphabet that I've never met. Yes, suddenly I've got to know them. I'm part of. We're all one voice. Me and thee. Farsight. I watched The Curse of Fenric again last week. That's proper Who. Scares, great cliffhangers, and dialogue. How English, everything stops for tea. I know. You only have to just go, oh. Hasler Scott. I was listening to Beethoven this morning and thought, what this really needs is some heavy, distorted electric guitars for modern audiences. So I rewrote it. I'm sure Ludwig would be cool about it. I think we made.
He's deaf, so I couldn't hear it anyways.
Shudder.
We did make a point about art this morning, and a very same analogy, really. The color was exceptional, says Stephen, but the edit wasn't so good, and the music too loud. And as for the master, watched my stream this morning. Me and Dan, we certainly had
levels. The sound levels. The in the studio, the sound is picked up on a single microphone for the dialogue. It's a one-channel thing, the dialogue, most of the time. And everybody is today supposed to have stereophonic or 5.1 surround sound systems. And I don't think that most people do, frankly.
No.
It's taken me a very long time to get the balance right between the center channel, which is the one that's got the mono dialogue on it, and the music and effects which come out of the others. But once you've got it for a particular program, it's perfectly great. Now, that is how it was set by the music and sound editors. The transmission path, the technical way it is reproduced, makes it muck up at the end point.
But
It's supposed to down mix properly. I mean, and it doesn't.
Absolutely, yes.
And it doesn't.
My father was a sound mixer, quite often on Doctor Who, and was furious.
And as Rick Storm's I mean, the War Games is distracting us. Look at this morning's stream, because we really go into detail about that. But if they were going to insert doctors into the War Games, why not Pertwee? Although we saw his regeneration. Baker, Davidson, Colin Baker, etc. I know. Why New Who doctors?
I know why. We all know why.
Yeah,
Yeah, they want the classics and the new brought together.
That's right.
Now, I've
It's almost like name dropping.
Now, let me just pull us together. We've been here for 2 hours now, and I've compiled all the data, all your results, and here we go.
You didn't ask me on my rating.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle. It's because we've got such a large panel. I'll have one next week. No, so go on, Michelle.
Okay. I'm going to read what I sent in to you, since I have already been accused in the chat of being a shrill religious fundamentalist who's going to burn witches later.
No, you're not.
Oh,
Hey, I've been sold, and actually I have been accused of being a witch once, so you never know. I was just confused by it, because is it a celebration of joy and hope, or condemnation of it? Why did Villengard need to create the star? So is that the only way war is started in the RTD2 and Moffat world? And so again, I was engaged with it until the ending. So unfortunately for that, I'll have to give it a 3.
Yeah, and I actually hadn't given my score either. I give it a 4. And so I've given it just borderline requires improvement, because again, I won't repeat what people have been saying, but my added point is the Time Hotel microwaved the star. Gosh, I tell you what, Doctor Who always stretched us to the limit, but this was going a little bit too far. There's a star.
It didn't even ding at the end.
No, and how did she get it under a jumper anyway? The Derry girl. I mean, what the hell was going on? I mean, honestly, as Doctor Who fans, we can all cope with this. The TARDIS is bigger on the inside. We see that as a truth now. There's a lot of dramatic conceits we can put up with. but then don't do a sledgehammer TARDIS or something like that. Here, she has a star under a jumper. The Time Hotel microwaves. If you go far enough back, it microwaves the star up. Come on, for God's sake.
The yellow mug was bigger on the inside as well.
Yes, exactly. And the Doctor's now a tea leaf. He can't be bothered paying for his own breakfast. I noticed that one, yeah. I mean, so domestic. I don't want to know whether the Doctor has, a tea bag or a coffee. I don't want to know what mug he uses. It's pathetic.
We definitely know one thing from this story, and that is his sonic screwdriver works. He used it 20 times in that story.
Oh, is that it? God, I think Jodie Whittaker slept with it, the Doctor.
Oh, Jodie kept breaking, that's why it kept breaking, actually. Very phallic, that one.
But yes, no, that's a good fact. I haven't counted that one. I counted the crying.
I count it. My problems with it.
I just thought
the buzzy thing now. Though,
yeah, I get sick of this. It's been turned into the Harry Potter wand, and I can't stand that. Right, we've delayed. Our poor thread have been waiting for this. These are the results of the Sensphere jury. I feel as it's the Eurovision Song Contest. These are the results.
And in the red corner.
Yep. So remember, it's simple maths. Criterion 1 is out of 60, 60, 60. So it's out of 180. So here we go. 180. So I'll go large because we've gone big here. So True Who or Boohoo, we said 30 out of 60. Production resources, 44 out of 60. Level of engagement, was it a good resolution? 28 out of 60. That meant our overall rating of the Christmas episode 2024 is it needs improvement. It's not good. It's not outstanding. It needs a lot of improvement because that adds up to 102. And if you look at, I've got my bands, I'm a classic examiner. Outstanding is 150 to 180 if you have 6 panelists. Good is 120 to 149. Requiring improvements is 75 to 119. And our rating was 102. So it sits right in the middle, requires improvement. So whether Jeremy thinks he should take 2 marks off or not, it didn't affect it. So there you go. Does that surprise your panel? Requires improvement, or do you think we've got it right?
I think you're right. I really do. I think it's a good rating.
I'm happy for it to be improved.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, all the way through our review, we've been trying hard, and sometimes we sound critical, sometimes this. But what we've said is it wasn't the worst. No. I don't know why streams say it's the worst thing ever. I can't see how you can say that from production values and everything. But when you look at it in its entirety, it's kind of not. It's not there. It's just not there. And it's just interesting that we have started to fall into requiring improvements a lot, Michelle and Rachel, who've done the most reviews with me. We really are falling into that, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
Well, unfortunately, Empire of Death kind of broke me. It's like, I came, because I really liked the first part. I'm like, this is going to be fantastic. And then he just absolutely dropped the ball. And is like, oh no, she's not special. She just pointed randomly at a sign that wasn't there. And it's like, blankety blank.
Yeah. So you can see the panel can go from 44 out of 60 on one criteria down to 28 on another one. Therefore, we're not just doing blanket statements. And this is the whole point of doing this. I know some streams have fun and just let rip, but the point is I try and stick people to explaining their version of what they saw. And I think therefore we tend to get a pretty good assessment of it. So it requires improvements. It's not for the knackers yard. It's not the most rubbish. I think Power of the Doctor we had as that, for example, and Rogue. But yeah, there you go. So I've made everybody wait, but there you go. It's been done properly. So on that score, I just want to say, I mean, I know, Rachel, you just saw it.
Yeah, just before.
But just before we go, what are people's thoughts about season 2? So let me just do some scary music first.
19, 97, 96.
So yes, I mean, please like and subscribe. If you've subscribed already, give us a like hike, as they call it. We're all busting a go. Everybody on Boxing Day. I said I wouldn't use anyone on Boxing Day, but they were giving me the grades yesterday, and so please, reward them for that, because I appreciate these panelists, because they've maybe done their streams, but they've also sent me. I don't just have people on a panel on a review and they just turn up. They've done their work. So here is the trailer. He storms or swaggers into a hospital. So it looks as though we're going to do Holby City or Casualty. He plays around with his sonic screwdriver and the computer, and everything goes dark. How funny. Verada Sethu's also in that hospital somewhere. There she is in the TARDIS, and we've got we're playing with Shooty's hair again, like we did in the Devil's Cord. I suppose you're only allowed to do that, and as I said in the stream this morning, you didn't have the Doctor from time to time and episode to episode went from big hair to small hair, long hair, and everything. Or it was just he's the Doctor. You knew when Peter Davison had a haircut. That sort of thing. Capaldi grew his hair over the series and went more perchery, but not story to story. But I find it interesting that with this Doctor, I do not know why they think they can do it. Is it called cosplay? Then there he is. He has a lovely cream outfit and he has a lovely skirt. Unit's back. Ruby Sunday's back at some point. We have... Is that the Daleks?
Mm-hmm.
Is that Skaro?
Who's shooting at them then?
It certainly looks like it.
Red Robots, which I think is episode 1.
They look like the robots that we see in the Star Beast.
They are. And they look a bit like the robots that were in. Is it the husbands of the
River
Yes,
Song.
the husband's River Song, and
Yeah.
it's also
It's
the emojis. Strangely enough, from Peter Capaldi's smile. Kinda
Yes,
looks like
yes,
that.
yes. Now I'm not. I'm
Wow.
not sure. I'm just throwing you with these first if you haven't seen them, so you can give us comments. But I'm just showing you various things, for example, at the moment. So, to me, I really don't want the Daleks back for obvious reasons. But that cartoon character intrigues me no end.
Do you know? Made me think Toymaker. Did make me think Toymaker.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I-
Yeah, that excited me the most because also that's good use of Disney animation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you've got Disney on board, use them. I mean,
Especially that like 50s style. That's like the 50s style very much of animation.
and but also that's 50s characters. And when you saw that publicity shot that looked as though it was in Miami with Verada Sethu, that's 50s. And I
It looked
wonder,
fantastic in that dress, by the way.
So I wonder if this is the episode where they run out of the cinema and this is what they're seeing in the cinema.
Mm-hmm.
Must be. But this
I
is
don't
leading
expect
towards the
what back
fantasy
then.
kind of thing that I don't like.
Well, hopefully a fantasy conclusion.
Oh, I got a thumbs up there from Simon.
Damn right. No.
And then we seem to have lots of Mavity scenes, Mavity gravity, where people are flying through the air and all the rest of it and holding on. Oh, shoot, he doesn't look good there. I don't like that look at all. That looks awful.
Yeah, terrible, isn't it?
He suits his hair short. I think, is that Verada see-through?
I think so.
Well, looks
Yeah.
like her. Yeah, her hair's in the same style.
What is she seeing through the blinds? I never thought I never thought it would be looking that exciting. Yeah. Oh, there he is, showing his chest again. If it's not his undies, it's his top. Yeah. Gosh, he is a doll, isn't he?
Yeah.
A Dr. Doll. There's the robots again. And there's Mrs. Flood.
Oh, is that Mrs. Flood?
Yep.
I didn't recognise her.
There you go.
Just
Look at her.
Yeah,
She's an
Yeah.
does look
actress.
different.
She's very true. Very true, Simon.
Does everybody here watch the trailer?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
briefly, twice
Yes.
through before we started.
See, I didn't do it
Yeah.
because I wasn't asked to.
Oh, I wasn't asked to either, don't worry.
Just like I wasn't going to watch this Christmas
No-
episode.
no one was
To
asked to watch
participate in this, Brendan, I did this for you.
Me too. I did it for you, Brandon.
Remember that. Remember
Oh,
that. I
God,
did
you
this for
know.
One
you.
for the team.
I owe you so much. I owe you all so much. So are you glad to see? I mean, Ruby Sunday, I think from hearing lots of fans feel as though she's been, as in Millie Gibson's been poorly served, and it would be lovely to see her back. I just wonder how they're going to do it. Her hair's changed. In other words, I assume they're hinting she's grown up a bit or something.
I
don't
wondered if she's
recognise
working for Unit.
Oh, she'll be sorting the shoplifting in Milton Keynes.
True.
So she'll be
She's taken over Rose's position of taking the notes.
Yeah, because Rose is now the manager. Because as you know, 5 minutes later, you're the manager. So yes, Rose Noble is now in charge of the whole of the southern basin of England for shoplifting. But I have to say, the shot of the cartoon character, and I really do want a beautiful payoff with Anita Dobson's Mrs. Flood now.
Yes,
And
please.
she looks, I didn't like her Mary Poppins kind of outfit, but I like that.
Yeah.
She looks evil. She may not be
Yes.
evil.
She does.
I hope she's watching Götterdämmerung. That would be great. Everybody doesn't know what I mean.
No,
do you?
go on then.
Wagner opera, The Ring,
Oh.
final one, Götterdämmerung, Twilight of the Gods. Fantastic music. That would be really powerful.
Okay, I understand now. So there you go. It looks as though there's one episode with the Mavity. There's episode 1. Oh no, it might not be episode 1, that one, but the robots, I think, are episode 1. And as I say that, this is my other concerning shot, because whether they're trying to trigger me, but that does look like their version of Scarra and New Who.
Oh, they're back.
Those
That's good.
spacecraft are shooting, though, aren't they?
You can't see my hand. But the building, excuse me, the building in the foreground, just off to the right. I mean, that basically looks like a Dalek head without the eye stalk.
Okay.
You know, I mean, then you have the ships in there, and it's pretty much just that seals the deal. These are the Daleks. They're back.
And then now you see,
and you know they're going to make it a 2-parter too.
well, you see, if the Daleks are back, let's just go for a second and explore that. Shooty said, you haven't been the Doctor unless you face the Daleks. And good for him. Yes, I agree with him. How short-changed if you never met the Daleks. But if he does meet the Daleks in season 2, if this is correct, then he might be able to regenerate at the end of season 2.
Are you saying the town is Skyra? If so, who are in the spacecraft shooting? Because I think because he's orange, he might be some part of Gallifrey we've not seen being attacked by somebody.
Well, I'll go bigger.
That could
Those
be
look like ish Dalek UFOs, but I might be wrong.
No, Simon brings up a good point, actually.
Yeah.
No,
It looks like, why would a Dalek ship be attacking buildings that look like Dalek buildings? And yeah, it does have that red hue of Gallifrey. So
Oh yeah, that does have that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. The orange glow. Yeah.
You know, I'm
time war,
Return of Gallifrey.
I'm fairly certain that we've got it. It looks like we've got a little time war going on here.
Right. Well, let me just bring in a few people from the thread who've been very patient. Matrix Lord, who I know when I had him on before, says he's got a few contacts here and there, including possibly RTD. Says there is supposed to be a time paradox or time gets messed up. And then he also says the Daleks are not back till season 3. Okay, so we'll soon know. Season 2 will reveal that to all. I had Mark Mikulski's quote here. I'm seeing this as a slightly generic alien space city rather than Skaro. And you might be right, but I'm willing to be argued against that. Well, it's fun. This is the Doctor Who fan bit that we'll all have our arguments about this. And yes, somebody will be right, somebody will be wrong. And it doesn't really matter. The building in the middle is a plunger upside down. Yes, maybe it's for plumbers. It's a plumbers convention. Anthony Parkinson, Gatwa will twerk the Daleks to death. Oh my God, the things he can do with a sink plunger, you wouldn't believe. So
Only you're allowed to say it, Brendan.
Well, I go there. I'm not teaching now. I'm allowed. But It's the Doctor's outfits. I can't deal with it. Can we just have one look? Even if it's a skirt, can we just have one look, please? And then I'll try and get used to it.
I don't want
Clearly,
to look.
clearly they keep coming back to that coat. So clearly they realize that having all these different looks must be a bit too eccentric. Because they have to keep coming back to that coat.
But they're doing it so much.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's the coat that's on the promotional doll as well, isn't it? The
Yeah.
figure, sorry, not the doll, the figurine.
But you see, this one looks as though it's the Devil's Cord, but not trousers, and they've changed it, but it's similar. A bit like David Tennant had a blue suit and a brown suit, but they had the same pattern. And this one seems like a similar pattern to his Devil's Cord blue suit, but it's a skirt.
may I ask a question?
It's a
Yeah,
kilt.
yeah.
Because I don't know much about fashion, but that shirt that he was wearing, like, is that a
It's a
what
waistcoat.
is that? I mean,
Well, that
I've
also-
never seen a man wearing that. So what is that then? I mean,
That one.
yeah, what does he have underneath
kind of
that under the kilt and whatnot? That white shirt. It almost
Oh,
looks
don't,
like
hey, don't go that far.
Yes.
T-shirt.
Can I just pull something up?
it's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a puffy shoulder.
One of the shots that you pulled up on the screen,
Yeah.
Varada Sethu, I don't know how to pronounce it. She's not going to be a doctor, is she?
Oh, you mean like Martha Jones?
Yeah, like Martha Jones.
There is a bit of dialogue, and I need to listen to it again, but she's in the hospital, and that doctor knows her, and it looks as though she's checking out. I can't remember. I'd have to go back.
She's
But-
either a doctor or a nurse. So is it another regurgitation?
Oh,
Or
cherish the
patient.
thought. Cherish the thought. Mini Tom, I see no issue with men wearing skirts. It's not necessarily that. I'm having a bit of cheek about it, Mini Tom, but the point is, can we just have one look? I did say a minute ago, even if it is the skirt, can I just get used to it, please? Thank you. But not stop changing it. That's my issue. Because we're just playing around. Yeah, Eastland Burkholder seems to be on the same lines as you seem to be hinting at, Brian.
Thank you, Eastland.
David Mullen, good to see you back. I saw your message earlier. So many outfits that I feel like I'm watching the Shooty Gatwa and not the Doctor. I call him the Diva Doctor now. That's the Doctor, not Shooty. I'm playing the ball, not the man. Mark Mikulski, I suspect our awkwardness about Shooty's outfits are more of a product of our ages. The young hip crowd, if they're watching, laugh out loud, will probably find them cool. But are they quite right? Are they watching? The lads were disappointed with Varadu's outfit so far. I mean, I think they want to dress like Leela, I think. But I mean, but I don't think you can do that in 2024. And maybe for quite right reasons. Although we can objectify a man, but not a woman anymore. This is the farce of the world nowadays. It's like they were saying earlier in one of the reviews on TV, they were saying you can have a naked Love Island, a naked dating show, but you can't have Miss World anymore. Isn't it weird? What is objectification? What isn't? It is a fascinating concept, the world now. But look at all those outfits. So if I went around the panel, Rachel, out of all those you've seen so far, which is the one, if you were the showrunner, do you say we pin that down and we stick to that?
Yeah.
And please tell me why.
So I would probably go with either the one with the two with his like orangey brown coat. Those would be the ones that I would go with. The cut of the coat is really good. The cut of the trousers are really good on both of them, and it just suits him actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does suit him.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's one.
that's what I'd go for.
Simon, what are your thoughts on the Doctor silhouette?
I very much like the long coat, but I very much hate the jumper.
Yeah, the orange jumper.
The orange jumper, vile. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems it, and it
Even
is.
the t-shirt. That's much better.
Yeah. Jeremy, where do you stand on this debate?
I agree with Rachel. I think the long leather coat is the best silhouette for this particular Doctor.
Yeah.
And just change the top, maybe the
Yeah.
trousers now and again.
Mhm.
Bring in a waistcoat if they want to, but I don't like the kilt.
No.
There's got to be a reason for the kilt, surely, rather than just
Because he's
Well-
in Scotland.
Yeah, because he
Yeah, I
lives
mean,
in
Yeah.
Scotland.
Shooty is
You know,
Scottish,
yeah,
I don't
and
like
they're
the
and they're trying to
Scottish.
push buttons.
Uh,
yeah.
Not,
Although there's nothing wrong with a kilt.
So
I mean, there's nothing wrong with any of it, but
yeah, so I was born in Yorkshire, so I should have a white rose on my character, and I'm also dual citizen Australian, so I'll have a boomerang on my head. You know, I mean, honestly, where do you go with all this nonsense? Oh yeah,
whatever stick
Well,
with what you
I'll have
chose.
boomerang undies on. That's what
it,
I'll do.
well,
Yeah.
he needs a sporran for his kilt to keep his
I,
sonic
I,
screwdriver in it.
I was born in Devon, and so I would actually need a T-shirt with a scone, and the cream one first, and then the
So,
chicken.
Oh yes, yes.
Scone.
Oh yes.
Scone.
Oh, it's got to be remembered. Devon and Cornwall are terrible with each other on this one.
Yes.
So we're up to you, Michelle. The silhouette that you would prefer if you were showrunner.
As I said earlier, I would go with the long leather coat and the t-shirt, the trainers, and the trousers, and just rotate them every couple of episodes.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Eccleston had the same leather jacket, but he had a different coloured vest, didn't he?
And
That's
Capaldi had the basic jacket and then the hoodie, but still he had the basic, and then he would change to just his shirt.
yeah.
Mhm.
Brian, where do you stand?
pretty much with everybody else. Log leather jacket, and just change the shirts occasionally. Maybe change the shoes, but that's it.
Yeah.
When you've got that look, just variations on a theme. Tom Baker had a beautiful one going. Sometimes the coat was different, but it was always that style: long coat, hat. Same thing with Pertwee. He always had the crushed velvet jackets.
you got to be able to run in it.
Yes.
And he does, and
Got to be
he runs beautifully in it. Just the way it flaps and everything. I mean, he's a good runner. It looks beautiful when he runs. When he did that little jump in the Time Hotel, that was
Oh,
fun.
I
I
love
still love, I absolutely adore when he's running over the chimney pots on Church of Ruby Road. You know, going, you know, what are you doing? Who sees this ladder and says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to get on it."
Does everybody get the impression that Michelle sits down at Christmas and watches Mary Poppins or something, and just watches the you know, the the rooftop sequence and all the rest of it?
Oh, I would do that.
Yeah, I
So,
know. You like
Michelle, if you
musicals.
do that, I'll fly over and join you.
There you go.
My mom's a big Mary Poppins fan. So
Before it
no
goes,
problem then.
Brendan, that previous comment that was on the screen.
God, I can't go on. What was it?
It said that the Doctor's ethnicity should reflect the majority of the viewers. I actually took offense with that. Sorry to, I can't remember who posted it. We all have our opinions.
So okay, offense is a strong word. Why do you take offense at that?
Well, I mean, why does the lead of a show have to be the same quote? There we go. The Doctor's ethnicity should reflect the majority of the viewers. That's really offensive to me.
What? No, please explain. What do you mean by it? Why is it offensive that the majority is reflected by the characters?
Well, no, specifically the Doctor. I mean, it's like, well, I mean, look at it this way. I mean, the entire time I've been watching Doctor Who, classic series, new series, yes, he's always been an older white man. Then they went younger, and then the girls and the guys started fanboying and fangirling over the cute doctors and everything. They did Peter Capaldi, and it was like, okay, we don't like the old doctors anymore, and that really irked me.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jodie didn't work, and now we're back here with Ncuti. But yes, Ncudi's being black and saying that now he's basically, if I'm reading this correct, it's saying that he shouldn't be black because he should reflect the majority of the viewers. Like
I don't think everybody's noticing his color at all. They're just noticing I think that's a good thing.
Well, I mean,
I agree with you, though.
Yeah. I just needed it explaining because I need to understand. You know, I mean,
it's hard to explain. I mean,
the demographic.
Well, it shouldn't even be hard to explain. That's the thing.
No, it is because I'm covering an awful lot of things here. So when you said the word offensive, I thought because I hadn't seen the quote, I was thinking,
well, I mean, he might as well say the Doctor shouldn't be black.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what the majority of the viewers are. I mean, what majority of viewers in UK, Canada,
I
everywhere
suppose-
combined? Like,
suppose-
who's to say what the majority of the viewers are? How
Absolutely.
are we even supposed to know that?
Go on,
Okay,
Rachel.
okay.
I'm
Demographic.
sorry, but I'm actually a little bit upset now.
Okay,
Well, hold on. We can debate. Rachel, go on then.
the demographics of have changed in the UK greatly in the last sort of 20 years. So back during classic era, the majority of the demographic would have been white men, but because people, the demographics have changed, I don't necessarily
older.
think it's sorry.
We got older.
You got older, yeah, and then people arrive in the country. They come to our country. They get the visas, whatever. So we have more people of color nowadays. So I don't necessarily think it's completely bad to change the race of the doctors, so to speak. It was a bad move to do the gender swap because the main demographic of the show would actually be men. So when they did that, but like it's a tricky one. Is it DEI?
I think traditionally it was always a
Yeah.
white male
And
actor who's
it's
played the
all-
role.
Yeah, it's,
No one could really envisage anybody other playing it.
and it's always difficult to make that adjustment. So demographics change all the time, and it's a tricky one.
It's a tricky one. Let me just. I'm putting in a fair range of opinions here. Paul Richards is the latest one. I don't mind a black doctor, Adrian Lester, or Patterson Joseph has been mentioned since 2005, hasn't he? And there was no issue. I mean, they're now talking about whether James Bond will they'll switch the actors there, and I think that's fair enough. I have personally no issue with Shooty being cast at all. My issue is always, has he been well written? And
Would people have an issue if the character of John Shaft was changed for a white person, a white actor?
Yeah, they would.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So
I want
so
the Doctor to be alien.
we want the character to be well written for.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
Well,
And-
yes,
and not
that would be good writing.
And I think clever writing don't bait any of the audience either way about.
Don't need to.
No, but they do. There's lines that bait you into going, and RTD did say in one of, Rachel, because you stream a lot as well, you might remember he did an interview earlier on, I think almost before the season started, and he said, a lot of us are the power bases in the media now. We all have the power. We have the control, and we're going to do it our way. And it was a version of that. I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he basically said, this is how we're going to do it. Now, when you talk like that, you're just going to get people's backs up because you're saying it's my toy now, and I'll do what I want with it. Now, when it comes to whether you've got a black actor, Asian actor, or whatever, it doesn't bother me. What bothers me is whether you make a point of it. It should just be the Doctor changes. That's all. The Doctor just changes. End of.
And is alien.
Yeah. I've said this.
There's no way around it, though, because, like I said, the Doctor has been an older white man for the majority of the show. So
I'm available.
So when you do change it, you cannot help but make an issue of it, whether it's just you should be intentional
happy.
Or not. It's going to happen.
Oh, well, the press might make a thing of it, but the press like to trigger their audiences. The press play a deadly double game, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it shouldn't be an issue. And it wasn't an issue. And most in Britain in the 1990s were very colorblind, and it was a fairly happy place to be. But what's happened is media lovies are forcing an agenda. They call it the DI, as you know, for a second.
That's right.
And they could just do it. And I have to say, sci-fi has done it pretty well without these media lovies being around, to be quite frank. We are science fiction fans, and we've had a different range of casting for many years when other things didn't. So I don't like being patronized or lectured when I'm one of the sci-fi fans who's followed Star Trek, followed Doctor Who, and we've always had color casting and all the rest of it. I don't know what the issue is, and I don't need to be told that and by the way, did you find it offensive, Dot and Bubble, where he was saying, look, I've picked a white cast because you lot didn't realize, did you? I mean, excuse me, this is the showrunner who's trying to rile us lot on ethnicity. And that was offensive.
Yeah.
You know, he's
he's undoubtedly. I mean, we all know it. He's trying to push our buttons in one way or another, and he loves doing it. I mean, there was that quote I said before where he said it's very controversial, and then he just kind of leaned back in the chair and laughed, and then went in that Russell T Davies relish that you see all the time. He says, "Isn't it wonderful to be controversial?" And it's
everything else though is standard, usual. We've always done it like this sort of television, and his pushes the boundaries. I'd rather he didn't push it so hard in Doctor Who, but it is valid to do it.
I actually think the offence is in the other way. You know, it's like everybody takes offence on behalf of somebody else.
Yes.
I think I call it patronising, but there you go. I take offence on behalf of somebody I've never met over there in another country. Oh, how does that work? So I'm going to take offence now in another respect on behalf of Ncuti Gatwa and on behalf of Jodie Whittaker, which is, especially though Ncuti Gatwa's doctor has been objectified. He's been made into a clothes doll. And I think for your first black actor lead, how very dare you, RTD? Why didn't you make him just like all the other doctors? They have a silhouette and they get on with it. But you had him in his undies. You had him showing off his chest. You have him saying, oh, I'm good looking now. Actually, RTD, I take offence on behalf of Ncuti Gatwa.
Is this part of Russell T Davies's fantasy, though? Is that the reason why he cast him? You know,
I don't know what's going on in his head.
No, Brendan, you've got it spot on.
I wish you hadn't.
Well, it's just, and you
We
can
saw
see,
David.
I've
We
got
saw
no,
the 10th naked,
yeah,
but that was as a gag.
yeah,
Really?
I've got no
Really?
That
issue.
was
Like-
controversial too. That was
There is-
controversial. People were upset about that we shouldn't have had to see a naked doctor.
There is no issue with a black doctor. I really don't think. The issue is you have changed him from all the other doctors. And you've also made him gay, for God's sake.
I am very
Nothing wrong with that.
surprised that they didn't do a black doctor first before they did a female doctor.
Yeah.
Joe Martin was fantastic.
Oh, she should have been the
More
female
of her.
doctor.
Yeah.
She should have been the female doctor. I've said that since the first time I saw Joe Martin.
Absolutely.
She should have been the female doctor.
You see, hasn't this been the problem from our white showrunners? That under Stephen Moffat, you had Bill Potts, who, as you know, was a lesbian character.
She was underserved.
She was, but the trouble is, you had, fair enough, Martha Jones was a black companion, and she was fantastic. You then had Bill Potts, but they kind of did a double tick. We're ticking the DI and we're ticking lesbian. Aren't we good? And they overdid it. They overcooked it, and that devalued her character. That was stupid. She was more than a label. And then you've got the Ncuti, a male lead. We're back to that. And he's a black actor, so blooming what? And they make him into a clothes horse, and they make him into a diva, and they make him the most emotional doctor. So they make him so different that actually everybody notices him more than the John Pertwees and that. And therefore, he's open to more spotlight and possible criticism. How very dare you?
Can I make a
Yeah.
point about this? Like I'm going out for New Year's Eve karaoke, okay? And Brendan, as you know, it's a gay bar that I've been going to for. I've been going there for the past 14 years now.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I went there, somebody said, "Hey, it's a gay bar. Do you have a problem with that?" I'm like, "No." And when I am getting to the point, but when I go there, there is such a cross section of people who are gay. Like I've talked to them, I know them. Some are friends, some are acquaintances. There's such a cross section, and even people I've worked with, where it's like you've got one side where it's like, yes, I'm gay, and if I hadn't told you that, if you go by the whole stereotypical Like the way they're portraying Shooty in this series, combining with John Pertwee. If they, the way they're showing Shooty in this series, people will look and right away go, "Oh, gay doctor." But then you go to the other side of the spectrum where it's like, you know what? Like you said, you're dressing him up like a Barbie doll every week, and you can still be gay, but you don't have to be dressed up like a Barbie doll every week and going, "Hey, babe," all the time. So I think what he's done is maybe making the Doctor gay. I don't think it should have been done at all, but if they did do it,
I would have loved the first gay Doctor. If you're going to do it, I would have preferred, as a gay man, I'd have preferred we hadn't. But anyway, we are where we are. If you're going to have a gay Doctor, I'd have loved him to have been like Chris Eccleston, where it's not an issue.
There you go.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, it just is. It just is.
Yes, he's not predatory like in Rogue. He's not in some ways wearing feminine clothing, which is allowed. It's okay. But please, can we do positive majority gay male representation?
Exactly.
Just stop messing with it, please, because it's not, the war is not won. You might be living in London, RTD, or Cardiff or wherever, but you want to be living in other parts of the country. It's not a done deal. So stop riling the public. Please, stop it. Just write sci-fi and niche stuff and get on with it. But please, don't start riling the British public into all these different quotients because you just want to get some great BAFTA award one day. Please, stop it, because some of us get it in the neck.
I'm afraid it's too late now.
Yes.
Probably. And it's too late on this channel as well. I should say. Little segue there. But that was great. I mean, you can appreciate Brian. Dalek Lives Matter said something, and you know, I've talked to Dalek Lives Matters before. It seems fine to me. The comment we challenge or we question, I then need to know what you're saying, because that's what I would always do. And so X-Man says here, I am a straight black. Hey, it's a good one to finish on. I am a straight black 59-year-old male, and I know a lot of gay people, and that does not bother me. And my kids are grown, thank God. But that is not a good look for the first Black Doctor. That's a fairly neat way to conclude on that one. Panel, thank you very much for your time, for your notes, for your marks, and for giving me part of your Christmas time. And I hope that the thread, I assume, I will really appreciate it as well.
Happy Christmas and Happy New Year.
I'll read the thread later.
Yeah, well, just before we go, Jeremy, and I will say a proper goodbye to you all. We have judged the episode as requiring improvement, and there's the details. Okay, so thanks, Rachel. You're the queen of the woke, and you have your channel. Chat about it, don't shout about it. You've been doing 20 streams. No. What are your streams about at the moment?
Well, I just this week it was reduced schedule. Just covered the Doctor Who stuff, and then some next week will be. Reduce schedule again, do a bit of Doctor Who on Sunday. Don't really know what I'm going to do yet, but in general, I cover mostly stuff in the entertainment industry, like woke news, some TikToks and things like that. Doctor Who is in particular on a Sunday, unless, of course, we have a special or the new series.
There you go. So chat about it. Yep. Don't shout about it. Now, Simon, remind us of your channel again. Your twerky, was it? I'm saying twerky. It's not twerky.
Torty, as in tortoise. Torty soft. TORTYTALKS. Be careful when you do a search, because it keeps coming up with dirty talks, of which I have no relationship or with which. I'm about to upload the next 3 episodes. Because from about a year ago when I recorded them, I'm still reading Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm well into book 5 now.
Oh, gosh, there you go. So a lot of people remark on your voice. So there's that one. A lot of people do like Rachel's moderation and then go to Rachel's channel. Jeremy, they really don't like the... No, I'm joking. So, is your K9 all right? Is he poorly? Did you drop him or something? I thought
he's all right. No, he's in the background, but it messes with the screen if you have a picture.
I was just worried because I heard a noise. I don't know if it was Brian's room, but yeah, there was a noise when you moved, and I thought, oh my God, has he wrecked K9?
Oh no! I dropped my mouse at one point, and it just...
Oh, okay.
Oh boy!
Because I just thought, oh my God, it's the Leisure Hive all over again.
T90 to go out for a walkie and do his little business.
Yeah.
And
Left
Michelle,
oil streaks down the sidewalk.
now Michelle, you do various things. People do streams and that, but we might as well advertise your book again, shouldn't we?
Yes, Haunted Fredericksburg is available on Amazon in the US and in the UK. So it's doing very well. And so they can find me there. And I'm also on every couple of weeks or so. I'm also on The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS on Tuesdays.
Yep. And Brian in Canada, go on then, give us a shout out for yourself.
I've actually got some news. I'm an amateur musician, and I've got my own little studio going here. And I rarely ever post my own personal music, my own compositions. I just fear, failure, shyness, whatever. But that's not the point. If you go to my YouTube page, though, you will now get to see some clips. I've already got one up of the corrected audio from Spearhead from Space. I do have the one scene where the Doctor walks into the first time into the unit headquarters and greets the Brigadier and tries to get into the TARDIS. And all of that echo that was throughout that entire set is gone. So it doesn't sound 100% studio quality. Sorry, Simon?
What program and software did he use to remove that?
Well, that's the funny thing. I didn't even have to buy it.
E-scripts, didn't you?
No, all I'm doing is I'm taking the snippets of audio of the scenes and uploading them to a certain website. I can't remember the name of it. And it has all sorts of choices for, like, if you're putting a song up, you want to split it into like the stems of bass, drums, vocals, keyboards, etc. But they do have some special effects, and one of them is echo and reverb removal. So basically, I just went through everything and then found out by accident. I was like, my God, I can actually get rid of virtually all of that echo. The trick is, though, is that I've got to take, of course, all these pieces of dialogue, remove the echo without
studio sound.
So there you go, Simon.
Put it through, and it sounds like he's in a studio sound.
Now, Simon, some of us have streamed. I've actually streamed more than Rachel today. It's hard to believe.
Wow, it's hard to believe that. Yeah, how do you manage that?
Yeah, I've only done about 5.5 hours.
Everybody who's familiar with Spearhead, go take a look at that one little tiny clip. And that's my little pet project right now.
There you go.
Cool.
Trying to fix the audio.
So thank you, Brian. So earlier today, we had our gut visceral reaction to the Joy to the World, to the War Games in Colour, to the trailer and everything. Very different panel, very different opinions. We've just done our version here, and we've got our marks. On Sunday, we have the Robots of Death classic review at 6 p.m.
Woohoo!
Because of course, we are still respecting it's Christmas, and we all deserve a bit of a rest. I'm not harvesting views. I'm not desperate to try and find views every minute behind the back cupboard. So there you go. Robots of Death as a gift to all our viewers. Nice classic nostalgia there. And we have fun with what would the Shooty Doctor do and with Sutek and all the rest of it. He's on the TARDIS, don't you forget. So thank you, everybody. It's been a very busy panel, but of course, it's been a long time coming, this Christmas episode. So thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas. Have a happy New Year.
Yeah.
And
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah. Happy
Hanukkah.
Happy everything.
All the best for next year.
Tide.
Yes. Bye-bye.
See you next year. Bye.
See you Sunday at 6.